Origin
Big fat
set review.
spoiler. Yeah. Oh, whoa.
What are you doing?
Trying to pull up our chat menu.
Oh. Alright. I'll handle that. You just start talking about the set.
Let's scroll down a little bit so I can point to these stuff. Oh, no, there we go. Perfect. Yep.
Scroll down so you
I'll get
can
it.
point to the stuff. What are you talking about?
We'll see.
You mean this stuff?
Yeah, so not that much. There we go.
How about that?
All right, so I guess we're starting out with Gideon and Kithion, which is one of the premier cards that people are talking about a lot. The fact that Kithion, right, the flip walkers. So I guess we should talk about them first. There are 5 planeswalkers that are creatures at first, legendary creatures that flip to become another kind of card.
Yeah, there we go.
He's a 2/1, starting out for 1. So as 2/1 for 1, that's a card that you would look at playing a lot. Brad, you've played a lot of Constructed, and a lot of 2/1s for 1s can be decent. Like, that's where you're looking at cards that might be playable, right?
Right. Well, so I mostly look at cards that are 3 mana cost or less. That's just because they often get play. And it doesn't matter what format you're in, they might get play. So, being 1 mana, it's the cheapest Planeswalker ever printed. Of course, you have to do a little work to get it to be a Planeswalker. And it's also just a decent creature for 1 mana. Okay, you can stop playing here. That's
bothering me.
Distracting. Alright, anyway. So, 2/1 for 1 is playable on its own. And it also has the ability to become indestructible.
Yeah, would you play a 2/1 with 3 gains indestructible? That wouldn't be a great card, but it might get played. So here's the thing. If it attacks with 2 other creatures, you exile it at the combat. So after it's dealt damage.
After it doesn't die in combat.
After it doesn't die in combat, yeah. And then it'll flip into the Planeswalker. So you can immediately use Gideon. Now, he has 2 kind of controlling abilities. You can create him, you make another creature indestructible, which you usually won't use after your first attack, but if you had another creature, it provides a blocker. Oh, you untap that creature. God, I can't even read, man. Like, you can immediately just untap one of the other creatures. Now Gideon's protected. +1, chump, and it's not even a chump block. It's defensive blocking with Gideon. +2, you can make your opponent attack into a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. And then after that, you're probably the more aggressive one, and if you +2'd, you have forced your opponent to lose a blocker. They're down a blocker because they had to attack. You can get in with your 4 attack guy. I think that he will have a place. I don't think this is the most exciting Planeswalker, but I think as far as Constructed goes, it will see standard play. It may see modern play as maybe a 1 or 2 of in Zudex. There's talk about it in Affinity, but I think it dilutes the synergy too much. But I'm sure people will try it. Like I
won't try it.
I think other people will see. I think that it might just have a position as a 1 or 2 of Inzu, and that's it. In lands.
Maybe. I'm sure it'll get played in modern, but for standard, it's a great card. It'll get played a ton there.
What deck do you think it would get played in, other than as a 1 or 2 of Inzu in modern? Sorry.
In modern?
Like, think of the deck. Tell me the deck that you think of. That's the hard part. Other than Zoo, what deck wants it?
Maybe Hate Bears or something. I mean, that's not even a very prominent deck, though.
Maybe like a 1, which is like...
And I don't know how often you want it in Hate Bears either.
Instead of like starting a white, let's just start with all of the walkers. That'll be a little bit more interesting, just starting off much stronger.
And then the Heretical Healer...
So let's talk about the creature first. Before this flip, let's just say it's a creature with these stats. It's a 3 mana, 2/3 lifelink. Would you play that card?
That's pretty unimpressive.
Yeah.
Especially since, a few years ago you had the 2/3 lifelink Flying Death Touch?
Vampire Nighthawk, much better. Alright. Yeah. So the trigger is whenever another non-token creature dies, you exile it.
And then it flips and you get a 2/2.
And you get a 2/2 zombie. How hard is it to kill something?
Well, it's not very, assuming Liliana doesn't eat the removal spell as soon as you play her, right?
Well, you can have a board out, right? You can do something like play Liliana, swing with your aggressive creatures, play your Liliana, have a sacrifice outlet. You know, if they have to kill your Liliana, because you're probably running 2 or 3 or maybe even 4, it's not great, but it's not the worst.
I like that they seem to have put enough cards in black that you can make a mono black deck.
Yeah, and you can play...
And in a mono black deck, this is quite powerful simply because you're going to have such density of threats that you play this Liliana and they kill it. Well, that's fine because you've still got a curve that doesn't end at 3. It probably ends at 4 or 5. And them killing your 3-drop for 2 or 3 mana is going to feel real good when you get to your 5-drop that they no longer have the kill spell for.
Right, and if flipping it is essential, you can build decks where you can play it on turn 5 and kill a creature easily.
Yeah, and I don't know how good it is. I mean, each player discards a card that's a little lackluster on turn 5. Return a non-legendary creature card with mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's pretty neat. But, so that leaves you a 3 mana, 4 mana, or sorry, a 3 mana, 2 mana, 1 mana, or free spell to get back. How big an impact is that?
Now, here's the things I do.
And it immediately lose your Liliana?
If you get the 3.
If you flip it and...
The 3 could be a lot of things. Non-legendary, which is important, which isn't as important in Standard as it is in Modern and Legacy. Takes up a little punch there.
Well, it also means that your previously dead Liliana can't come back.
You can't cycle.
And try to...
And that's what
a loop where you get 2/2 zombies.
Yeah, it would cycle and you would do that. But what I do like about this is on 3 or 5, +2 loyalty is quite a bit. First of all, it's a +2 ability that's meaningful. Discarding the card to build in your deck. But also, you can discard, when you discard your card on your side, it can be a fatty. And you can be reanimating towards that, right? I mean, you flip it on turn 3, and then on turn 4, you can get back a 4 or 5-drop, no problem.
If you manage to flip this on turn 3, you should win that game. I mean, if you play this on 3 or 4 mana, I guess if you ramped, and then immediately turn something sideways and trade with something because apparently they had to block, I don't understand how that would be the case.
They might
if someone plays this Liliana against me and then attacks me, I'm probably just going to take any damage to keep it from flipping immediately.
So if it was an aggressive deck, then you would not flip it because the option of it being flipped is worse. You're going to try to stabilize the board and take damage from the creature first and then the next one. So Liliana essentially has a secret mode of target creatures unblockable this turn.
Yeah.
All creatures you control are unblockable until Liliana is dead.
Yeah, well, let's say another non-token creature you control dies. So, I guess I could chump block at that point, but that's pretty much a losing proposition, too.
So it's not that bad. I do like it more in aggressive shells, right? Where the discard means more because you're getting your hand out quick.
So I want to point out, though, that you're not going to play this Liliana and then remove one of their creatures and flip it because one of your creatures has to die.
Yes.
So that's pretty... I don't know, that seems like it's very slow.
We'll have to look at the sacrifice outlets, too.
Yeah, and if there's enough sacrifice outlets, like, just in Standard in general.
Like, imagine there was a Fume Spitter-like card. 1 mana, sacrifice 1.
Well, there's Exploit. I mean, there's not many cards with Exploit, though.
That are good at cheap, but there are ones you could play.
Well, yeah, there's not many cards that I'd be willing to play just to make Liliana work. So, there's the, 5 mana one where you tutor. That one's
it's too much. You would definitely want one that's 1 or 2.
There's a 3 mana blue spell, isn't there, that lets you like draw cards or something?
Yeah, look at the top 3 or 4 cards
and get one of them.
Yeah,
and so that's not terrible, but then you still need either to exploit it, so you basically do that just to flip the
it's a sorcery, sure.
Yeah, or you need some 1 or 2 drop that you can flip on the next turn with it and get to keep it. I think it's like a 1/4.
Yeah, we'll go more into depth with it later. We might pull up like all of the sacrifice cards when we come back. There could be. That's all it really needs though is a 1 or 2 mana sacrifice card that you're happy with. It doesn't have to be the best. It just has to be decent, and then you can moderately get Liliana. Again, we're not saying it is definitely playable or not. I think it will be played and constructed. The real question is it modern? And I don't think so.
Well, so I know a lot of people are excited about building the mono black, and there's a lot of tools. There's a double black in this set that's like a 3/1, and you can get it back using another ability.
You have to exile 2 creatures. We'll get to that one
from your graveyard.
Yeah.
So that guy seems pretty weak, except that him dying, you can get him back with Liliana or his ability. I mean, and he's a 2-drop into Liliana. So then he's either unblockable or immediately trades and flips your Liliana.
Yeah, let's look at Jace. Is Jace yeah. We'll pull back up to the main Planeswalker in a minute. We just want to be able to see both Jaces. So Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, and Jace Telepath Unbound. I think this is one of the ones that people are more excited about, and I think this is actually one of the worst ones. It might be the worst one in my opinion.
Well, so I've heard this one might be Snapcaster number 5 in Modern, but I think that was like preliminary discussions. Because I mean,
You gotta untap with it.
getting 5 cards in your graveyard is nothing in Modern. You could do that by. I mean, you could probably do that by turn 2, and play this Jace.
That's true.
So on turn 3, you could flip him.
The problems I have.
What are you doing on turn 3 after you flip him? I don't know.
The problem is I'm playing an O2 looter that I don't want to play. It has to survive and I have to untap, and it has 3 abilities, and only one of them is actually playable and good.
That's true. Now, if you play a 2-mana spell that eats a lightning bolt, is that worth it?
No, because I'm playing a spell that requires other cards to be good.
So I don't know. I mean, if I play my Snapcaster, I immediately get the effect, so that's clearly better, right, for 2 mana.
Yeah.
But I can only play 4 Snapcasters. So do I want to fit Snapcaster, even though it's a really crappy version of one?
It's an onboard, turn-delayed Snapcaster that only effectively works with sorceries. It works with instants, but you can't cast them instant speed for the most part.
That's true. But at the same time, I mean, it can just die to removal, which means the removal doesn't take something I care about, right? I mean, if it eats a 1-for-1, do I care that much? I mean, do I care that much if anything eats a 1-for-1 for 2 mana? I don't really know how much card advantage matters when you're literally playing this guy and hoping to get something, you know?
Yeah,
Whereas he has such upside when they don't mess with him for 1 turn.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about the removal aspect. The removal aspect is a problem. Like, do you want to have this in your hand when you're staring down a burn deck or an affinity deck?
I mean, no, not really. I can't think of a
Or a
time
combo
in
deck?
Modern I would really want that, except in the really long game where them killing it means they don't get to kill something else.
Right, and I think I'd just rather play another card. Now, the thing I don't like about this card, too, is if he was 4 loyalty with a -2, if this ability was cheaper, you were right, Unreal mistake.
Yeah, I mean, the +1 in Standard's pretty good.
It's
But
okay.
it's still not...
The
It's
problem
not
with
something I want to be doing.
in Standard, it's hard to get him to flip very quickly, and this ability might not be enough. There are 4 and 5 and 6 power creatures floating around in Standard that are going to murder him.
Oh, they're going to murder him quickly, yes.
In Modern, where he's more likely to see the play,
There's just better options.
his second ability is the only really good ability, and you don't want to do that. I mean...
Well, I mean, so you don't want to spend 2 mana to draw a card and discard a card on the next turn.
Yeah,
And then be able to +1 or -3.
mistake, he does get to flip, and probably immediately, if your opponent doesn't have everything else, negate a 2-power creature. The real problem is you're probably -3ing the turn he untaps because you have your mana untapped, and you want to get your value out immediately. And, getting a spell and him eating some damage seems nice, but the setup cost of just having to have those cards is just not where I want to be. I think this is actually the worst of the flipwalkers, which is awkward because a lot of people assume Jace is like, well, I guess I forgot about Chandra. Never mind. I forgot about the red planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Sorry, red planeswalkers.
So I really hate that they won't make a good Chandra.
Wasn't the last one decent?
I mean, the last one is one of the best ones ever printed, but I mean,
okay. Well,
there's been, I guess, one really good Chandra that everybody played in Standard, and that was it. There's been how many Jaces played in Standard that were all good, and this one probably. I mean, it'll get played. It just won't get played as much.
Unreal. The hard part about his flip is he has to untap. So he has to not die if your opponent knows he has the ability to do that. And you have to actually have cards in your graveyard. It requires at least 1 to 2 cards to have 5 cards in your graveyard. That requires effects. You don't get to play turn 2 Jace, untap turn 3, have 5 cards in your graveyard.
No, I mean
that's the problem.
You could get 2 cards from 2 fetches, right? And then untap, and that would be your third. So you're still going to want to play 2 more spells,
Yeah,
or 1 more spell that puts stuff in your graveyard.
Yeah, without playing
whatchamacallit.
Without playing dredge cards, you just can't get them online early enough.
Thought Scour would pretty much do it.
It's just not worth it.
I'm sure people will try it, but I just don't know if it's good enough.
Yeah, I don't think that Chandra is as bad as Tybalt. I do think that it will see Standard play. 3 for 1 that pings. If you deal 3 more damage this turn, exile her. So here's the thing about exiling her. If your opponent doesn't have a board, for whatever reason, right, you can play her against a control opponent or whatever. Or if you're getting to attack, in turn 4, if you hit for 2, play red spell, and then tap her. That flips her. You can flip her turn 4 pretty realistically. That's the easy way to do it. Attack, and then untap and hit.
Oh, I never thought of it that way. So that makes that, I think, better than the Jace, but...
I think it's better than Jace too, just because it's easier to flip. Now the effects, 2 damage to target player. I like this against the control deck. That's where I really like this Chandra, by the way. -2, 2 damage to a creature.
That's pretty weak.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
And then the ultimate should kill them, right? 6 damage to each opponent.
Yes.
And then each player dealt damage gets an emblem with taking an additional 3 damage on their upkeep.
Yeah, you're just...
I mean, they should lose. Now, Nissa, I think, is the best one of the group.
Yeah. I do want to mention that Chandra is probably going to be a sideboard card, but the fact of the matter is, like, okay, imagine sideboarding 4 of these and against, or 3 or 4 of these against a control opponent. They have to kill your Chandra. If they don't kill your Chandra, it's going to flip on turn 3 or 4. And it's going to represent a Planeswalker they now have to kill. And if they don't kill it in 4 turns, which is not hard for them.
Not to mention, the turn it flips, it does 5 damage, because it does 2 and then 1, and then flips into more.
It's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage on turn 4.
Yeah.
From one... Well, I guess one card and then 1 card out of my hand that could be...
Yeah, and you're going to cast a red spell. It's not a high setup cost if your opponent doesn't have creatures to block with. They could kill it. That's fine. It is pretty easy to kill a Grey Ogre. I mean, like, you know...
Yeah.
I don't mind the +1. It's a annoying effect. Again, this is mostly against control decks. I don't think I'd really want this against creatures just because you're not going to get through tapping it. Playing 2 red spells is still doable, but against that deck, you're just going to -2 and kill something? Like...
Well, if you've already gotten through by attacking, though, they probably don't have any creatures.
Yeah. If this had haste, it would be really interesting. But
and I think it should have haste.
It cost 1 more. It's already decently powerful as being able to just do 5 damage to someone's face.
I mean, but let's talk about other 3-mana spells like Rabblemaster. Doesn't have haste, but it does give you a 1/1 the first time you play it, and so just the damage output from Rabblemaster probably outpaces this pretty quickly.
It does.
Right.
This is less vulnerable than Rabblemaster once you actually get it into a good position. And Rabblemaster might be the best red 3-drop that is ever printed.
You might be correct.
So let's go on to the best Flipwalker, for Standard at least.
Yeah, at
Nissa.
least for Standard.
Now, when it enters the battlefield, you search for a basic forest, sorry, Modern. And when a land enters the battlefield, if you control 7 or more lands, you're going to flip it. Yeah. There's the cool part about Nissa, before we even get to the abilities. Turn 3. It's Borderland Ranger. You built your deck right. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not saying that that's an exciting card. I'm saying it's a perfectly suitable card to keep me on my mana track. It's a 2-for-1 early games. The lands still matter early on and all that good jazz. Later in the game, it does the same thing, except for your 3-drop is now basically a free Planeswalker.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you really don't have to do anything aside from play lands that you were already going to play to get Nissa to flip. Now, as far as the flip abilities, +1 is basically draw a card or put a land into play from the top of your library, which is probably the best.
It's always draw a card. If it's a land, put it into play.
Yeah. That's way better than like the last Jace that nobody played. I don't remember his name.
Yep. Its -2 ability is a 4/4 legend, which you only get 1.
4/4 creature.
It protects itself. If you need a body on the ground, you get a body on the ground.
And a 4/4 for really not doing anything but playing your 7th land is pretty good after paying 3 mana. On turn 3 if you could do it on turn 3.
You can. This is the least abusable. You're not going to be flipping it very early. You might flip it turn 6 or turn 5 at the earliest.
Yeah, and it's odd because, like, Nissa, you could theoretically play on turn 3. Turn 4, play that free land you got, right? Attack with Nissa. A lot of people are going to either trade it or let it, they're going to trade it if they can because they don't want you to have it. And then you could just play another Nissa and go get another land.
Yeah.
So if 4 of in your deck isn't terrible.
Yeah, they're going to answer them.
Yeah, and if they answer them, then you've still got to get to 7 mana before it matters, so you could theoretically just play them to ramp you lands.
Unreal. We don't have shock lands in Standard. I think Nissa is perfectly playable in Standard. I don't think she's. I think she's maybe the least modern playable, just because you don't normally get that many lands. Like they maybe
you really don't want to.
It's not even good enough to run in something like Scape Shift where they have lands, just because it's not strong enough.
Yeah.
But in standard, like Brad said, you're running 3 or 4 probably. You don't care if they die. They always get you a land because you're probably running enough. Even in your 3-color decks, you're running like 2 to 4 forests, and you don't really need much more than that. And it flips for basically free. Like, you play the card, you get a land, and you get a 4/4. You got 3 things for 3 mana. I'm pretty happy with that. What search your deck for a Planeswalker, a 4/4, and a land. Put them into play. That's a good 3 mana spell.
And then you could also play that 6 mana guy that goes and gets Nissa.
You can't. It's not legendary.
We'll
bring up
the other guy's is not a legend. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of legends out there. I think that was intentional. Like to make sure it wasn't too powerful.
But it really makes it weaker as far as
it does
playability in any other format. Though
we'll pick it up though.
Care about 6 drops in anything but standard. So
there's been a little talk about it maybe seeing some modern play depending on the cards you can get.
I mean, it can go get Turbo, and we'll get to it when we get to it. All right, so I guess we can go down each color now.
Yeah, 2/2 in the Death Interrupter. You're not always going to play against these green decks. I mean, you're right. Sometimes it's just going to be a 2/2 against the aggressive green decks. It's going to be a 2/2 that gets me a land that I double block or shut block with, or that draws out a removal spell. But
and then the second or third one you play might flip.
Yeah, and that's fine. These cards. Nissa doesn't have to beat every card in Standard. It just has to be better than some cards in Standard, which it does do quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of what deck I'd rather have it in than any other deck because I only play one deck in Standard. I play Abzan, and it doesn't go in Abzan.
It could.
I mean, I could play it in Abzan, but I really don't play that many forests. So
okay, here's the thing I love about it. Let's say you're running 2 to 3 Nissas. How many forests do you need to run?
Well, I would probably
2 to 3.
run. Well, I'd probably run a little more than that.
But I mean, like you can run 2 to 3. It only has to get the first one to be fine. Your Nissas don't have to be all. You're not probably going to draw both of your Nissas. You're probably not going to draw all of your forests.
So the thing is, like, unless I'm going to get the land, though, I don't really want to play Nissa in my Abzan aggro
You are.
deck.
Oh, it's not Abzan aggro. Might play 1 with the 2 forests in the deck naturally, but like let's say you're playing bigger Abzan and you're running 2 Nissas.
If
and
you're
3 forests.
Control, I could see you.
Right?
I can see you playing it.
You don't have to run. You can be in a situation. Let's say your deck wanted to run 3 Nissas and 2 forests. You're not really going to play 3 Nissas. You're probably just going to play 2.
Though, if you
when you play Stoneforger Mystic, you play 4 Stoneforger Mystics. How many equipments do you run?
you probably just run about 2 or 3. So.
You run 2 usually. Even though there are 4 cards that get it, you don't have to have 4 targets.
That's true. However, for like Abzan, if you're only playing 2 of the lands, that's probably too few because your fetches also get them. So you probably want to play at least 3. That's what I would guess. That would be my starting point for playtesting.
3 is the amount you're probably going to usually want. But if you're only running 2 Nissas, the 2/3 split will serve you well. Anyway, let's go on to white here. This is a big constructed part here. We'll point out this cards we think are constructed playable. We'll talk about them, but this is mostly going to be talking about more of the limited parts to it. Obviously, like, you're only a small portion of the cards will represent standard playable cards. The flip blockers are the primary ones.
Yeah.
Right? We come to Archangel of Tides. 4 for a 3/5.
That'll get play in standard and basically nothing else.
If there's a really heavy white deck, like, I think this is fringe standard playable. The triple white is very hard.
So I don't think it'll be in many decks, but I do think there'll be a deck built that's
Yep, let's go ahead.
probably mono white.
Yeah, as long as it's untapped, it has flying for 3/5/4. As long as it's untapped, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless they play 1.
Yeah, so
as long
half
as,
of a ghostly prison, but also for your planeswalkers.
Yep, and as long as it's attacking, creatures can't block unless their opponents play 1. Now these are both strong effects. It is white, colorless, so that's mana intensive.
White is pretty much, but then it puts them on a mana intensive thing where to attack they have to pay, to block they have to pay.
Yeah, this is the kind of card that you're probably running 1 or 2 of in your aggressive white deck, and you might have 1 or 2 in your sideboard against the more creature decks. It's not very good against like control matchups, but it's not terrible.
So I think the deck that plays mono white is going to probably play 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah, I agree.
So they're going to try to stack the ability.
There'll either be 3 or 2 or 3 in main board and 1 or 2 sideboard.
Maybe. So Starfield, I don't think will get played in any real competitive format. Somebody might try to build a deck around it here in the next few months where you can play all the enchantments.
Look to Travis Wu. If anyone's going to make this deck happen, it will.
Mean, it seems like a fun card. I'd love to play it in casual.
He's built standard decks that have had decent effects with this kind of stuff, but Modern is too prohibitive for this kind of cost. Now, I'll say Arcane of Ties and Limited. This is a really good card, but it's not an all-star. The triple white means that this is realistically in your 2-color deck a 6-drop at best. Like, you're not playing this on turn 4 or turn 3 or turn 5, usually in your mostly
with
white
the
deck.
fetches, you might could.
No, Limited.
Oh, in Limited? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is a 6-drop.
Yeah,
Remember, this is triple white.
Limited.
Starfield of Nyx is not playable in Limited.
No, there's not enough enchantments in the whole block.
Yeah, there could
in
be.
my opinion.
Yeah, there could be a nifty constructed deck that plays with like
you
an
might be able
Ethan
to draft a Starfield in Nyx deck,
No,
but
you
I
can't.
think it would be weaker than just
You can't. It's just
drafting a
not
bunch of
enough.
creatures. Now, Gideon Phalanx, useless. They
What?
printed a similar card to it recently that was 6 mana instead of 7, right? No, it was also 7 mana. And it made 4 haste
Oh yeah, the green white ones. Yeah,
2/2s. Yeah.
this is a sorcery though.
It was a sorcery? Yeah, who cares though? Because it was 1 less mana or something.
It was 3 green, green, green. There's like 3 green, green, red, red.
Yeah. So
It's a little different. I think that it's overall probably it's not constructed playable. In Limited,
it won't
I
see
would.
any play, but in Limited, you might as well play it. I mean,
You need to be.
especially in Sealed, you might as well play it because that format's so slow.
Yeah, well, Sealed's like a turn half slower. But the big thing about it is, you remember that you only have a limited number of 7-drops, so I would not first pick this card. It's not worth going in. Even if you do get to like moderately blow out your opponent, you're at 7. Most games you're dead by 7.
Well,
so.
and you've just paid 7 mana to get 4 2/2s, which won't get through too much.
No, they're probably 4/2/2 indestructibles, which is nice in that you are going to kill their team when they attack. That's the purpose of the card. They swing in. You have 8 power divided across 4 bodies. You
Unless
kill.
they have flyers. I mean, should have really made them have reach or something too. That's not very white though.
They have vigilance. It's usually going to be good. They're not usually going to have a bunch of flyers. You're going to kill 8 toughness versus creatures.
It's not something
And
I
you'll
would
be able to
look to get. If it happened to table, I might pick it up, and it probably wouldn't make the cut.
If I was in a later pack, I might. And the green-white decks, just having more bodies.
Now, I mean, if I open this at the pre-release, I'll probably play it.
Well, in creatures you control. It's not just these. All your creatures are indestructible.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably play it at a pre-release, but I mean, drafting it, it's not a high pick.
So Hallowed Moonlight is probably one of the more exciting cards for constructed. Until end of turn, colorless white. Until end of turn, if a creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Draw a card. Would you run one of these in your Modern deck's main board? Could you see yourself running one, or would you keep
know if
them
I would
sideboard?
run one main board, but I could definitely see it making it into sideboards of decks that play white.
It's an easy
basically.
probably two.
Now, I
maybe
don't
3.
think it would be played in Affinity, which is what I usually play.
Right, yeah, it's not for Affinity. It's for the same decks that run the new creature. What was the 2-mana 2/1 that when it comes into play, this effect can't happen. It does the same thing.
Oh, yeah, I don't even remember the name of that guy.
The nice part of this card is it is a answer to card to specifically in Modern Dredge. I mean, Dredge isn't played.
Anything that...
The deck where you alternate your graveyard and...
Oh, Living End.
Yes, it is an
It's
answer to
also
Living
a good answer against Goryo's Vengeance or any of
Yes.
those things that have gotten real popular.
Yep,
this
the
month.
10 Fins variants.
But, I mean, those also didn't work to Grafdigger's Cage. However, this does stop Collected Company, which Grafdigger's Cage does not.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
It's a good catch-all. It's in white. And the fact that it cantrips, that you can draw a card in a bind, or that it cantrips and your opponent still can win the game. Any of those decks don't lose from them not going off. It just takes some time to build up. And that draw card means a lot there. It gives you the velocity to keep going.
Yeah, I really think they should have pushed it a little farther and just had it cost 1 white.
It might have been just too oppressive for the control. Like, the combo decks might not have basically ever been to get
I mean,
through.
you're right. It might be that
It
was
might be
too
just
aggressive.
too good against combo.
But I would like to see it pushed further because I don't think many decks can play it right now over something that doesn't already exist at 2 mana.
I think you just start playing it over Cage. I think white decks just end up running 2 or 3 of these in their sideboard against the Modern decks that play it.
The problem is Grafter's Cage you can play on turn 1 before they can counter. And you can just leave it on the battlefield.
Yeah, this does make decks, if they have counter spells, it's worse. None of the decks we mentioned have counter spells usually, though. Collected Companies do not.
Yeah, they all try to just go...
Tin Fin, Goryo, Vengeance variants do not, and what's the other one?
I also like that it's... I don't like that it's just one turn if you're playing against Collective Company. So, like, they cast Collective Company, you stop them, you draw a card. Whereas if I had cast... Well, does anything really stop Collective Company? No, not so far.
Not in Modern. Not in Modern. Legacy, there's the creature that does for 2. The 2/1 for 2. That doesn't like creatures.
Will you name a card and they can't cast it?
No. It's a creature that says if creatures would enter the battlefield unless they're cast, they're exiled.
The one we were talking about, yeah.
Yeah. But this stops 3 of the decently sized Modern decks. Living End, Collected Company, and Tin Fin variants. So
that's pretty neat. I mean, it'll definitely get played.
I mean, the Tin Fin variants with Goryo's Vengeance put a lot of cards into it. And against Collected Company, it might not be back-breakingly amazing, but the fact that they spent 4 mana and you essentially, quote-unquote, counter that card and drew a card is very playable. I would put that in my deck against the Collected Company every time.
I mean, I'm not sure how many we run in sideboard.
You're running 2 or 3. That's it.
Well, the problem is what are you taking out in Modern? I mean,
you're playing your Grafdigger's Cages.
You didn't play 2 or 3 Grafdigger's Cages to begin with.
You played...
And they didn't work against Collected Company. Anyhow.
Yeah.
The problem is making room for this card. I don't think it's good enough that it'll take up more than 2 slots. And then you're still taking out slots that were permanent answers to things. So...
Unreal. I mean, the fact of the matter is they spent 4 mana. They spent their turn, and you countered their turn. So it doesn't matter if it exiles it or not. They choose not to reveal. Who cares? Who cares how it turns out? They spent 4 mana. You countered it. You drew a card. So you're ahead. Like that's
anyway.
It's not any different than a mana leak.
We can move on now. Healing Hands will never get played in anything.
That's not true. You can play it in limited. You don't want to.
Play that.
You pull it out of your board in racing situations. It's not a main deck, but 4 life, draw a card is fine if you're expecting to be racing. If I'm the mono green deck and you're the mostly flyers deck, I'm pulling 2 or 3 of these in. You guys that's buying me a turn each time I play it. Probably you're probably attacking for 3 to 5, and I drew another card, and it's helping me get ahead each time I do it, and I'm getting attacked back for quite a bit. It's like a bad fog with the draw card. Not usually.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
All right. So the next card,
Hixius, Prison Warden.
He's okay for 4 for limited. For 5 mana for 4/4, he's okay. I'm not sure if he'll ever get played in anything but limited.
So yeah,
5 mana is a lot, and
especially for a card you don't really want to have out. Now, I will say one of the cool things is if you have creatures that are attacking you with first strike or double strike. Wait, nope.
Nope.
I'm wrong.
It doesn't work except on defense. So
yeah, I was thinking about you can block with it. You can block and kill a creature too, but then you don't get the other effect. It's got to be combat damage. So never mind.
Now the White Orchid will definitely get play. It probably in a mono white deck in Standard. It already doesn't see play in Modern, so
it has in Death and Taxes sometimes, but not normally. Just because it's not really what you want to be doing. It's too weak of a body in Modern, and the land doesn't matter that much. But yeah.
I mean, I would definitely play it. I would definitely draft it, even relatively highly.
A 2/2 for 2 is fine. Like, white's your main killer.
Even it being double white, I might first pick it and just go white as my main color.
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, you like to remain open. I like to commit to colors super early.
If you want to succeed more in drafting, do not do what Brad does. It is a bad idea.
I don't know. I win a lot more than you do, Daniel.
What? No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Especially at Modern. Modern draft. Alright, so the next guy, Renown 1, and then tap a creature as double white.
So all of these are limited all-stars, and only Knight of the White Orchard is playable in Constructed. This card's not actually playable in Constructed. You don't want what is it? What's the card that's seeing Ojutai's Exemplars? He's a way better card. Right? Yep, with way better abilities, and it's not seeing play. This card's just not really where you want to be at.
Now it probably will get shoehorned into this mono white deck that's about to be built, but I don't think it's very good.
No.
Alright, so we can move on. Relic Seeker. I really like Relic Seeker. I believe if there is a mono white deck, that guy's a 4 of in it.
So there's people are looking at it in modern, and people are looking at it in constructed. You have to find the right equipment, which is the trickier part. Now, in modern, people are going to try it, and I think it will be good enough with Batterskull. It doesn't put it into play, but being able to get it or getting swords is
well. So
strong.
you don't do anything until you hit with it, right?
Yeah.
So a 2/2 for 2, is it great for modern?
Nope.
You're gonna have to do a lot of work to make it hit, unless you're just winning.
Or you play it
they're not
early
doing
against
anything.
decks that don't do a lot. The fact that they have to, it's going to go in like your kind of Death and Taxes-esque deck. And so they used to run some versions run the Stoneforge drill. They'll run 2 or 3 of these and like 2 swords. It's an odd package, but it's going to be tried.
I don't think it'll be that good in modern, but for standard, they did print the 1 mana equipment that like equips and get you a land every turn or something.
It's 2 to play, 2 to equip. You're talking about Sword of the Animus.
Sword of Animus. Yeah, that one's pretty good. Signal of the Empty Throne has never gotten to play. Even
So
though
I want to point out that Relic Seeker is actually not a very good limited card unless you get lucky. Like if you see this, don't first pick this card. It is not a amazing card. It's also not a terrible card. If you don't have any equipment in your deck, a 2/2 for 2 with Renown 1, it's fine. That's a fine card. That's a
fine.
card you should play. That's a bear with upside.
I would definitely, if I opened it in my second pack and was already in white, I would go ahead and take it.
Yeah, I would take it, take it as highly as you take a 2/2 with Renown 1, and that's pretty good. Just ignore this other text that doesn't usually come up because you will probably not have a good equipment.
And I will cut it if I don't have the equipment when I go to build the deck.
I won't. I'll play 2/2 for 2. I mean, do you play Grizzly Bears in your decks?
Only if I have to. So.
Usually you're playing 2 drops. You're going to have to play 2 drops. It's better than the Grizzly Bears. Signal of the Empty Throne. How do you feel with that in Constructed?
In Constructed?
Standard.
No, it didn't get played last time. Probably won't have enough equipment. Or probably won't have enough enchantments to play it this time. So, I mean, someone's going to try, obviously, with that and the other 5 mana.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything with it.
But I'm definitely going to crush that deck with my Abzan deck, so whatever.
In Limited, this card is unplayable even with the amount of good enchantments that are out there. You just don't want a card that doesn't do anything on its own, and there's not any good enchantments under 4. So it's not very good.
There's not even like a pacifier or anything in this one? I never saw it.
It's a 4 mana. It's a 4 mana pacifism, and the fact of the matter is, how many of those are you really going to get?
Lame. Okay, well that's useless. For each player, choose from among the permanent stat player controls an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker, and then they sacrifice the rest of their non-land permanents.
Right, this costs 3 white. Yeah, worst noob ever. Anyway, it's a sorcery. So this is a variant of older cards that have done the same thing. Now the cool part is you choose. For 1 more mana, you get to choose your opponents. You choose from opponents. Yeah.
I mean, you get to choose what they keep.
They get to keep their 4 worst cards if they have a creature.
That's
and an
true.
enchantment and artifact and a planeswalker.
But for standard, I still don't like it. I don't believe 5 mana for modern is good either. It's
not lands.
Yeah, it's not lands.
Oh, I misread
they
the
will
card.
not let you wrath lands anymore.
Okay,
I just don't think it's going to see much play.
I'm trying to think of a position where you play it, but it's mostly just a bad wrath, and no one's playing it's not like you're
no one's playing the good wraths, the one that costs 5. No one's playing that.
Yeah, and it's not like your opponent's gonna have multiple enchantments or planeswalker sets. So this is just unplayable. And limited, you can play this.
I mean,
It's
I would
very
play
good.
it limited.
You get to keep your best creature. They don't get to keep a creature.
Well, they do get to keep a creature, but it may be.
It's a bad creature.
So, the next one, flying non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. I think this will see a lot of play.
Yeah, it's great. It's better in constructed than modern. They're limited. You're gonna play it in limited. You're not gonna play it in. It might maybe see like as a one of in modern play to complement the suite of oh gosh, what's her name? The 2 mana 2/1 with first strike. Thalia. Yeah.
Thalia.
Yes. Yeah, it's not going to see play in Legacy if you thought it would. There's already a card called Glow Rider that does this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't have flying. That's the only difference.
Excellent.
So
very good.
You now have access to a ton of those. It's not very.
And so Thalia's legendary. This is not. So it might see more play in modern.
Right. So you play 4 Thalia and a Wingmare, or you play 3 Thalia and a Wingmare. But you probably just play 4 Thalia. You might play one of these though. It is good against the...
You might play more than one of these, but I don't see it replacing anything you're already playing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In Limited, it's a 2-1 for 3 with flying, so you should still play it.
Yes, you will play this all day, every day in Limited.
If you have a bunch of prowess cards, you should still play this card. It's still good.
Yeah.
Anointer of Champions is an awesome limited effect. We haven't had it in a long time. Usually it's at attacking or blocking. This just says attacking, but the fact of the matter is, when you swing in with your 2/2/2s, your opponent is in a terrible spot. We're going to get to more Renown later. There's some extremely powerful Renown cards, and with abilities like target attacking creature gets +1/+1, it's a lot harder to get through. Or for your opponent to block effectively, so you're taking them off.
It's a lot easier to get through. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. It'll be played.
All right, so something I want to point out that I think is true for the Relic Seer and Blessed Spirits. Cards with additional text that you read and don't want to play. Would you play Winddrake? 3 mana, 2/2 flying.
Probably would.
Okay, so then you don't need to read this other part, which says whenever you cast an enchantment spell, it gets +1/+1. You should always play this card. If you have no enchantments in your deck, this is still a playable card. Do not make the mistake of thinking, I don't have enchantments, I shouldn't be playing this enchantment card.
So.
You should. And there is an enchantment theme that's strong enough that you'll probably have up to 5, but as little as 1. But a lot of your removal is enchantments, so it'll be bigger sometimes. Who cares? I'd play that. I wouldn't pick it higher than it.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick it very high, but I'd definitely play it. Flying is very valuable in Limited.
Yep.
If you can't block it, you die. That's all there's to it. Now, I love the first strike on the 2 double white guy.
Yep,
it's very good. And then the Renown gives him other attacking creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn when he attacks. That's really cool.
He's a 3/2. And here's the thing about Renown. There's the upside, which is you get bigger. There's a downside to Renown. Your opponent needs to always assume that you don't have the trick. Like if I attack with my 2/1 Renown and you've got a 2/3, if I give +1, your creature dies. But can you afford for me to have a 3/2 with first strike?
No.
So what do you have to do every time? Call the bluff. If someone attacks with a Renown creature, call their bluff. Make them show you that trick, because if you get behind on Renown, you are going to probably lose. Their creatures become awesome, and you're having to deal with all of these really big creatures. Really tough.
The best part about this card is it's an uncommon, so you might have more than one.
That's true. It does
and
cost...
these in multiples is really good.
It does cost double white, right? Unreal is pointing out that it is a very powerful card. The double white helps limit that in that you won't always be able to cast it early, because you're not going to be playing mono white. You're going to be playing 2 colors, and that kind of helps keep it in a position where it's not overly powerful, which I really like, right? It's not 2 colorless and white, which would make it worse.
Yeah, that would be horrible to play.
I'd play a 2/1 for 3 first strike, Renown 1.
I mean, I would still play it, but it'd make it a lot worse. Now they might could have made it a common if it were that, though.
I could have, but that'd be scary having a lot of those.
Oh man, having 3 or 4 of those, you might be playing mono white. Knightly Valor, I think, is pretty good.
Yep, it was good last time. It's we good this time.
Yeah. It is one of the few enchantments I would actually like to play that we've seen so far.
It's been moved up to uncommon. The nice part about it is you usually get your value out of it. Moves it out of removal range with extra toughness usually. Gives you a body even if they kill it. Fits in well with the enchantment theme. That's not particularly important. It's not a urgent pick, but it is a solid card. Unlike Murder Investigation, which you're not playing. It's an uncommon, which your upside is I could get 6 1/1s, all these, etc., etc. No, just don't play this card that does nothing when you play it. That's what it does. It does nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Now, and I'll bet I'll play against a lot of people who will play this in Limited.
And you win. Usually. Sometimes you'll lose and it'll be sad. Patron of the Valiant. 3 colors, white, for a 4/4 flying. I'm sold.
Yeah.
Alright. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 creature with each 1/1. Relevant ability with Renown. This is pretty big. I don't think that it's going to see constructed play, but if there is some sort of weird, really heavy deck with a lot of 1/1 counters, just like Archangel of Thune saw a little bit of play, this is a much worse Archangel of Thune, but if there's a deck with a lot of 1/1 counters, I could see maybe one of these popping up. Probably not.
I mean, I like that it's uncommon.
Yeah, that's where your 4/4 flyer for 4 should be.
Yeah, I like it. Vigilance. At the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn, tap target creature that player controls. Very defensive 6-drop. Also has Vigilance, so it's really defensive.
I would run as many of these as I could get. It stops an opponent's attacker, and then lets me attack in with, at the very least, a 4/6. But if I have 2 out, I get to tap down almost all of their creatures and attack for 8. You probably won't have more than 1 or 2.
I would love to have 2 of these as the top of my curve.
I think this is the best common or uncommon we've seen so far.
And at 6 mana, it has to be good. So
yeah, I mean, it's super powerful.
So this is as powerful as some rares, and it's an uncommon.
It's like a much worse version of Citadel Siege, which was an unbeatable rare that you bent your whole deck to.
Mm-hmm.
It has the Citadel Siege ability of untap or tap down one of their creatures. It happens immediately. Your opponent has to kill it before their combat step, so they have to have something that can kill a 6 toughness creature. Probably not happening. And then if they don't, you get to attack with your people every turn. This card could have been like an unconstructed playable rare and still be excellent. You should think of this as I think it's still first pick it even at 6. That's the only issue I have with it. It costs 6, but that's so strong.
Not over an equally powerful rare or more powerful rare, which we hadn't seen many of those. But yeah, this is a first pickable card, and we haven't been able to say that about anything else. The next one, Swift Reckoning. 2 or more instant sorcery cards. You may cast it as though it had flash and destroy target tapped creature. This is really good. You will take as many of these as you can get.
Yeah, and it's important to remember when they have flash, they'll declare an attacker, and before blockers or anything. You can do it after blockers too, but it's with 2 or more instant sorceries. It's a card you can play as instant speed removal to kill their tapped creatures attacking.
I would actually call it somewhat Swift Reckoning because you can't always do it swiftly.
Yeah, don't. This is premium removal.
It is at 2 mana. It's very premium actually, and it's an uncommon.
Yeah, so this card
white doesn't usually get so good a card.
I will say if you're playing something like white green, the Spellmaster will be a little bit less reliable. But if you're in like white black or white red or white blue, you can save it for just being your go for the throat. All right,
it's very good.
Totem Guide Heartbeast. It's moved up to an uncommon 5 for a 2/5. Not necessarily something I want to play. When it enters the battlefield, search for an aura and put it into your hand. This aura is normally going to be some sort of Faith Fetters-esque effect. It's going to be removal. If you have 1 piece of removal, you might want to run this. If you have 2 good auras, then that's the part where I want to be running 1 of these. I don't want to ever run more than 1 because it's 5 mana for a 2/5, which is not exciting.
Yeah, I think 3 is the magical power in this set so far. Just from the cards we've seen, I actually haven't looked at them all yet. So I find it more fun to do set reviews cold. So
Valor and Akros. 4 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control get +1/+1. I don't think this is a card you should be playing in Limited. It's a card that has seen this effect before, and it's just not worth it by itself, right? Because let's say that you are losing and you draw this card. How do you feel?
Absolutely terrible.
Let's say that you are on a very aggressive curve and you don't have any more creatures in hand.
Yeah,
you'd rather just have a creature.
If you're very aggressive, you probably don't have creatures by 4 mana.
Yeah, they'll place this, and if you're winning, it's just as good as anything else. It's really good when the board's stalled. So I might sideboard this in, but I'm never putting this in my main deck.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's good enough for Standard either. They already have an enchantment that's 3 colors that does basically that whenever you cast a spell.
It's just not there. But War Oracle. This is the kind of card I'm excited about for Limited. 4 mana for a 3/3.
With lifelink.
Just 4 mana for a 3/3 is a playable card. You play that card. Hill Giant. I play that card. Now it has lifelink. I'm excited about this card. I'm ready to play this card. Renown 1.
Why not?
It's amazing. Either of these 2 abilities to make this card go from playable to I would like them in my deck. Together, this card doesn't necessarily stop up the board like Sentinel of the Eternal Watch, which I'd probably pick over it. But it's hard to say if I'd rather have a Patron of the Valiant, which is much more aggressive. I'd probably rather have the Patron of the Valiant. I would. But not a lot.
Yeah, this is a very good 4 mana spell.
It is, and it's a 3/3, so your opponent has to really commit something good to it and hope you don't have that combat trait. Now, they probably will, but... Alright, a Crone Jailer. So this is the first card that I think looks good that's not good. We talk about tappers being powerful, all these things, but what we found out is when tappers cost more than 1 white mana, They're
That's
just
true.
not good enough. 1 mana for a 1/1 is not what I want to play. And then his ability is an ability I don't normally want to have to use.
No, because usually you're not paying 3 mana to do something and then playing another creature or committing something to the board that will get you further ahead.
If you're having to play this card because you don't have other removal, it will serve that function. You're just going to be sad.
Yeah, you're going to be real sad.
Let's go to happy card we're happy to play. So we talked about before.
3/3 for 4.
I'm happy. That's all it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and
good.
And it also happens to pump your team, which is really good in an aggressive deck.
It is.
As well as just good because it's a 3/3 for 4.
It's good early because let's say you play it and you've played a 2-drop and a 3-drop. You've curved. You're kind of lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You got an extra 2 damage in. It's actually a lot more. Let's say that you're 2/2 and you're... Let's say you have 2/2. You have a 2/2 and a 3/2. Now they get through. Well, if you have renowned creatures, your opponent has to go ahead and have their creatures die. They know you don't have a trick. The trick was, oh, my guys got bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Late in the game, the +1 power might not always matter, but it might let you make an attack you couldn't normally. Worst case scenario,
like it.
4 mana 3/3.
Auramancer, there's bound to be one aura in your deck he can get, so probably okay.
It's been traditionally very powerful in the white decks when there's the white-black enchantment deck like we have supported here. And the worst case scenario of it being a 3 mana 2/2 is good, but the best case scenario of it being a 3 mana Gravedigger is better.
Yep. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. So this is the second 6 mana spell we've seen, and I don't think it's near as powerful as the first one.
No.
The Giant Soldier. Is it playable though?
I would rather not play it, but if I needed to, I would. A 3 mana flyer a 3 power flyer. 3/3 flying is a good card. It's too expensive to be an actively good card. This card on my scale of letter grade wise would be like a C-. I don't want to play it. I will play one if I don't have anything better, right? If you're playing white-blue, this could represent the top of your flying curve. It's going to get there,
Yeah.
right? But it's not exciting. It's not aggressive. It's not efficient. Celestial Flare.
This was good last time it was printed, so I imagine it'll be good this time.
It's better in... If it's he's playing the constructed decks, it's usually good because it's killing an excellent creature, because there's only excellent creatures. In limited, when your opponent knows you have Celestial Flares, they'll attack with a bad creature and a good creature, and your Celestial Flare becomes a little worse. Here's a really good trick. Let's say they attack with their 2/2 and their bomb, knowing that you, in fact, have the Celestial... They just know it. They've got you put on it. You block, you kill their creature, you're still in combat after damage,
And you can
then
cast.
you play your Celestial Flare. You took damage, kind of...
And you will get a judge call because the first time that happens to anyone, they call a judge.
Right, in the end of combat step, you can play the Celestial
Yes.
Flare. It hurts.
Very good. Be sure you play around that trick.
There's no way to play around the trick.
Well, you can play around that trick by not attacking with your big dude, which is pretty terrible, isn't it?
Yeah,
You can play around that trick by attacking with 2 smaller creatures.
if you only have one, that's true.
And assuming they don't have enough blockers, because at this point,
yeah.
So there's not too many ways of playing around this.
All right, let's go on to Charging Griffin. I like it. That's what it is. It's a 4 mana 2/2 flying, which not exciting but playable. And when it attacks, it's a 4 mana 3/3 flyer, which is exciting and I'm happy about.
Yep, I will definitely play that.
I would play up to 3 or 4. I would be happy if this was all of my 4 drops. If all my 4 drops were Charging Griffin, I'd be okay.
Pretty good.
All right, so we have a cycle of cards that care about the number of creatures in play when you play it.
Which I appreciate.
Yep. Cleric of the Forward Order is the most boring one. It's not the worst one. It's the most boring one, but here's the thing about it. It counts itself. So it's 2 mana for a 2/2 that gains 2 life at the worst. How do you feel about that card?
That's pretty decent for a 2 mana.
Yeah.
2/2.
Now, technically, if your opponent kills it in response to the trigger, you don't get the 2 life because it checks and doesn't see anything, but that doesn't matter.
Well, whatever. If they're going to kill my 2-drop, immediately, then I'll not gain 2 life and be happy about it.
Don't overvalue this card. I wouldn't say aggressively pick it. It's just a 2 mana 2/2. That's how you should view it. 2 mana 2/2 gain 2 life. Technically, if you have 4 of them on the board, you're going to gain 8, and you have gained 6, and you have gained a lot of life. But
So
it's just a 2 mana 2/2.
This actually
that gains 2 life.
harkens back in my mind to Cold Snap.
Yeah, it has the same feel.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because you could, ripple into...
Yeah, Ripple was a lot more powerful. Ripple casted cards that had the same one.
So in Cold Snap, you tried to draft as many of those Ripple cards as you could get, and if you managed to get 6, 8, 10 of them, which Was pretty unlikely. Most of them were common, though.
They were all commons.
Yeah. Oh, they were all... Well, yes, sorry. All the ones you would draft were commons. There were uncommons and rares that Ripple. But anyway, that ended up being absurd if you got multiple of those. So
yeah, the Ripple one was a 2-1 first
How many
strike.
of these do you take before you realize you should just take them all? So if after first pack, if I have 2 of them, do I start picking them much higher? I guess this kind of goes for the rest of the cycle as well, because this one's the least exciting one, I believe.
The blue one's the worst. It's unplayable, but we'll get to that in a minute. The different ones, different things will matter. For this one, it is how many 2/2s do you want in your deck, and that's it. So I'll pick a lot of other 2/2s over this one. I might, you know what? Even if I had 2 of these in my deck, if I had a slightly better 2-drop, I would pick it over the 3rd Cleric of the Fort Order. You just don't care.
You don't think keeping on drafting these a little higher is a good idea?
When we get to the other ones, we'll talk about those. For this one, no.
Okay.
Enlightened Aesthetic, 2 for 1/1. You may destroy target enchantment. This is a sideboard card. You'll bring it in against the sideboard decks.
Now, I know they've had more powerful versions of this in the past, right? Haven't they had a 2/2 for 2 that also does this?
The reason that it's weaker is because the enchantment theme is strong, and they don't want to negate it in standard.
Yeah.
Or not in standard, in limited. Enshrouding Mist. It's a combat trick, and it is a bad one. +1/+1, prevent all damage, which it's good in that it prevents the damage. The problem is +1/+1 is not quite enough to usually to kill your opponent's creatures. It's gonna, and if it's renowned, you can untap it.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I might run one of these if I didn't have the good combat
Yeah.
tricks, but it's a low-end combat trick. If you have renowned cards, don't get tricked and think that you should be running this.
Yeah.
+1/+1, untap your creature, prevent all damage to it. There are 3 different effects that are okay, and it sums up to be a card that I would not normally want to play.
Nope, me neither.
Grasp of the Hieromancer is a cool card. I like it in the aggressive decks. I'm not sure how many I'd play.
So, among enchantments we've seen in this set, though, that might be one of the best ones. It's only 2 mana. It gives +1/+1 and has an additional effect of tapping their blockers, right? So you're going to get through more.
It goes
So I really like this at 2 mana. However, I don't know how many of you want. Maybe just 2. I don't know if I'd take the 3rd one.
I wouldn't take the 3rd one. It goes in an aggressive deck. You get blown out. That's the problem with it. And it doesn't really go in the quote-unquote enchantment-themed deck because you're aggressive. You're in the beatdown deck.
And I don't know if there is actually an enchantment-themed deck that's powerful enough to actually try to draft in this set.
I think there is. Between Auramancer,
So that would be the perfect target for him. Or
Blessed Spirits, and there's another black card, and the Totem Guide Heartbeast. There's a lot of creatures that care. So it's there. It's supported. We'll see in the black side that has a little bit more. Heavy Artillery is a card I am excited about. 5 for a 3/4. Now in white, that's serviceable. You usually get a 3/5, but the fact of the matter is he taps a creature when it comes into play, so it can go in your aggressive decks. It can go in your defensive deck to kind of, get through a little bit of damage or XYZ. But you remember, it's not constructed. You're not just building a control or an aggro deck. How many times has your bigger mana costed deck had an aggressive start? You happen to get your 2-drop and your 3-drop, then you played another 3-drop, and then you played
tap
heavy
your creature
infantry.
down and keep going.
All of a sudden
I like it. I like it, especially for 5. It's decent. Was it Knight of the Pilgrim's Road? That one's a really good card. And at common, you're probably going to have more than one of these.
Yeah,
you're probably going to be fine with that.
We've had red mana 3/2s for 3. We're happy with that. We've had green 3/3s for 3. We consider that a very good card. This is a fine card that can perform above that, or is just okay. And again, it has renown, so your opponent's going to normally trade with it, and sometimes they'll have to trade down where they're trading their better card for your 3/2.
Yeah. Now, the tactics, the biggest thing I want to say about this card is it is a sorcery. And that's fine because it can give vigilance. However, don't forget and try to play it as an instant.
Yeah. The thing I do like about this is it costs 3. So you're playing this later. Say you're playing at turn 7 or 8 and you have 6 mana. You can have Kytheon's Tactics and a combat trick up, which is not normally the case. Usually this effect
really
costs
cool.
4, and I can play my 3 mana super trick, whatever, my black kill spell, my red burn spell, my white combat trick, my green combat trick, which is a plus side. You're probably not going to have a white combat trick with the double white.
You may not have triple rot even at 6 mana.
Yeah.
You might.
You probably do.
I mean,
but you're probably not playing 2 Kytheon's Tactics. Like, let's say you pick
that
up.
would be something, yeah.
I think that's why the double white's there, is to prevent you from stacking Kytheon's tactics.
That makes sense.
Mighty Leap. It is playable and not exciting. This is your baseline for a combat trick that's okay. Giving a flying, sometimes it means you get through, sometimes it means you get to block something, but it's really mostly the +2/+2 that's putting you here, and paying 2 for +2/+2 is not exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many of these you would play if you had access to as many as you wanted.
I would play as many as I didn't have better combat tricks. So probably 1 or 2.
So would you go down in creatures though? Because I usually try to play around 14 to 16 creatures. Would you play less creatures and more of these? Is it that good?
If this is my only combat trick, let's say I have 4 combat tricks, I'll probably play 3. They're just not good enough in multiples. They're not mana efficient. They're not really pushing through a lot of damage. Stalwart Aven is 3 for a 1/3 flying, which is not great, but not super awful. And as Renown 1, it's normally going to get through. It's normally going to be a 2/4 after it attacks the first turn.
That's really good for 3 mana. A 2/4 flyer for 3 mana is, just not printed. I mean, that's how good it is.
Yeah. And the 3 toughness evades a lot of red removal. So this is, and some of the black removal.
And the 3 toughness blocks a lot of things, both on the ground and the ear, just from the things we've seen.
So I'd probably be happy to fill up my 3 slot with something like this.
Yeah, those are very good for 3.
Suppression Bonds. This is the main enchantment. It is non-land permanent. Can't attack, block, or activate its abilities. It's like a bad Faith's Fetters.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is Faith's Fetters was a first pickable card, and this is a okay card. Yep. It technically stops Planeswalkers. Not that that particularly matters. It is nice that you have mainboard Planeswalker answers. So, like, if you're playing white, you might not. You'll probably have 1 or 2 of these in your deck. You probably won't just be losing to a random Planeswalker, and that you can Suppression Bonds theirs. Which I think is cool.
Yeah, this is the premium white removal right here. I believe.
And I think you're right. No, I think the best one is the 2 mana one. The uncommon one's better.
The uncommon one that we
with
talked
Spell Mastery.
Oh, okay.
Because it costs 2.
Oh, so this however hits everything. So.
What are you hitting?
Well, not often Planeswalkers, really.
Yeah, and you're not hitting other things, right? You're not hitting enchantments, and you're not hitting artifacts, really. So it's just creatures. I'd rather have the other one, but it's cool that you'll probably have 1 or 2 of these, and
you can fetch this with a lot of cards, too.
You can. That's why it's very good.
Yeah.
Tobin Freeblade. So we talked about before. This is a 2/2 for 2 with Vigilance and Renown 1. I think this actually is better than Relic Seeker. Like, if I was in a pack where's those 2, I might pick the Relic Seeker because the upside is higher more of the time, but a 3/3 Vigilance is a real card. Like, that's what this becomes. You attack with your 2/2, it becomes a 3/3, and now your opponent's staring down a 3/3.
With Vigilance. Yeah, every turn.
It's annoying. Oxed Oak. Yoked Oak.
Yoked Ox.
Yoked Ox. Oxed Yokes.
We're gonna throw them together eventually. It saw a little bit of standard play, didn't it, at one point?
Cards like this can. It won't see play until the Sheep leaves.
Yeah.
Next leaf ramp. Yeah. The point of this card in Limited is that you can sideboard them against the heavy Renown decks and not have to worry about it. Sucks if they have a trick, but the fact that you traded a 1 mana card for a trick is not bad.
Yep, not bad at all.
Not excited to play it. All right, let's go on to Blue. All right,
we've talked about Jace, Disciple of the Ring.
Let's talk about... Yeah, okay, Disciple of the Ring. So, it's good in Limited. That's very obvious. It's probably first pickable card in Limited. It has various effects. The first ability is do we consider this a standard? It's not modern playable. Is this a standard playable card? You play it on 6. You pay 3 mana. You play your 3/4. You have lots of instants and sorceries in your control deck. And you can protect this. You can use this ability once or twice. Would you play it?
So, I don't think this is a great finisher for Blue.
Just 2 mana inefficient.
Well, that, and it's only a 3/4. So I can spend. We'll say somehow I have enough instants and sorceries in my graveyard that I can spend 3 mana a turn every turn, and make it a 6/7. Then it's great, right? Unless it dies to basically any removal spell, because I don't think you're going to be able to protect this enough and pump it enough to end the game in a reasonable amount of time.
This ability needed to be +2 or +3.
I believe it did. Tap target creature and tap target creature, both great offensive, defensive abilities. Either which way you want to go with them.
They could have pushed this card a lot more. This card could have exiled itself. This card could have been Aetherling because the ability requiring an instant or sorcery is quite restrictive.
It is. And it's just, I don't think it's good enough to see much standard play.
All right, Days Undoing is an interesting card. It's had a lot of hype and a lot of talk. It's a Time Twister variant. Things I want to point out, it doesn't go in the combo ones because your turn ends when it casts itself. It exiles itself at the end of turn. You can't use certain effects to stop yourself from losing.
Losing the turn.
I do need to double check to see if end of a turn. I think end of turn effects still happen, so you can't use it with cards like Final Fortune. So it's kind of limited in Legacy and how good it's going to be. There's a chance that Control decks or Aggro decks will try it out. I think it's going to have shine the most probably in Constructed. It's hard to say if it's going to get played.
So I think it'll actually be played in like a modern burn deck.
I wouldn't.
You don't think so?
I mean, let's say you're playing at turn 3.
Well, so if you empty your hand or almost empty your hand, and you play it whatever turn you play it after emptying your hand, and it doesn't get countered, you now have a full hand for the next turn.
Yeah, my opponent probably has some cards in hand too.
No, you definitely gave him some cards, but you didn't give him anywhere near as many cards as you just got, or you wouldn't have played it.
That's
what I'm saying.
True.
You have to set it up, obviously, but red basically just eats their entire hand away as fast as they can and tries to get a new hand, right?
It just costs a turn. That's the real problem.
It does cost an entire hand, but it gives you 7 cards for that turn.
Yeah, people aren't playing Slither Muse, though, and that card already exists.
What Slither Muse do?
It's an evoke card that does this. Except for their hand size, but their hand size is usually big enough. So I'm not seeing it. We might. I mean, Brad is right. In really aggressive decks, unloading your hand, drawing 7 is strong. In controlling decks that are like really reactive and just get rid of a lot of permanents, it's not normally going to be as good because your opponent gets a big hand again, but your power spells are more powerful. We'll see if it finds a home. It has a lot of potential.
It does have a lot of potential, and it's priced appropriately for that potential.
Don't play this in limited. You don't want to have a slot in your deck that says both players reset their hand because you spent a turn letting your opponent cast these cards first, and you probably won't win. Alhameret, High Arbiter, 7 for a 5/5 flying. I would probably usually play that card in limited, but not be excited.
Yeah, I mean, 5/5 in limited is pretty good. 5/5 with flyer is really good.
Okay.
But 7 mana, it better in the game or...
Now, the limited effect does matter. When it enters the battlefield, your opponent reveals their hand, and you name a card. They can't play the card.
That basically takes a card out of their hand, which could be the card that would have killed that. So, it's pretty neat. Now, for any other format, this would be playable in Standard if it had Shroud or Hexproof.
Yeah. It's actually a card mostly made for multiplayer formats. It says all opponents, and the way it's worded is specifically to stop people from doing stuff in Commander, like stopping all of them. It's okay.
I don't even know if it would make a Commander slot, though.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not exciting. I don't think it's necessarily playable. Displace of Wave, however, is playable in Constructed, and it's definitely getting played in Limited, first of all. This is the first pickable quality quad. In Standard, it is playable in the Control decks. This is a great card. It'll see slots of, I think, 1 to 3. It just returns all their cards.
Oh, so in Standard, you think it'll be a 3 of?
2 to 3. I don't know if you want 3 because it costs X. I think you play 2 of in your deck. You want to see 1 for sure. It resets them very far back, especially against like your mid-rangey decks.
See, I think you play maybe 2 in the maybe 1 in the side, maybe 2 in the side, because
yeah,
the decks that want this want a lot of it.
And the cool part too is Displacement Wave, like against a tokens deck. You play it for 3, kill all their tokens, and they scoop up some of their cards. You play it for 2, and it's all non-lead permanents.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful card.
It's very good against tokens.
It may even see some play in Modern where you can play it at 1 or 2. Even though it's a 4-mana card, quote-unquote, that is returning the whole board.
Oh, yeah. In Modern, especially if you hit 5 mana, you'll almost always get everything.
I mean, even at 4, let's say you played at 4. That's most cards people play.
Now, I'm really annoyed that it's a sorcery, because if it were an instant, it would be played in a lot of Modern decks.
Unreal Mistake, to my knowledge, what is the colorless blue card that bounces all artifacts?
Yeah,
Hurkyl's Recall is legal in Modern.
Yeah, you'll never play this. And Hurkyl's Recall isn't it? It might be a sorcery.
It is also. It might be an instant sorcery.
I mean, I don't remember. it so infrequently gets played against me, even though I play Affinity all the time.
The thing about Affinity, and I would bring this in against Affinity, is we've played Affinity a lot. Getting your land returned to you doesn't necessarily mean you lose. Sometimes it just means you bought a turn or two.
Now, Hurkyl's Recall, you might as well play that over this because it's just 2 mana, and it sends all my permanents back to my hand anyway.
If you have a limited amount of slots, you might end up playing Displacement Wave. It stops token strategies too. Makes like a young Pyromancer much worse. Right? We've got Pyromancer decks and Monster Mentor decks.
Would play it. So not too many decks play Hurkyl's Recall right now. They'd rather have their slot for something else.
Right, the slot efficiency of this card. It stops Monastery Mentor decks and Affinity decks. Oh, you play Time Twister in Affinity? I mean, the deck's so slot tight is the problem.
So
would you run one of those instead of the
instead of a 3-drop?
No. Instead of the Affinity draw card.
Oh, instead of I would definitely run that over the Affinity draw card. I don't even like that spell.
Well, the Affinity draw card sometimes costs 1.
That's true. I would run it over.
You'd rather try the well, we should try the Time Twister then.
Well, as soon as they go down in price, I'm not buying one right now.
Nah.
So I would probably run one Time Twister in Affinity. That would be fun. I don't know how often you're gonna.
Yeah, Unreal Mistake. It does have a few flex slots. They're just tight slots. It costs 3. It doesn't have to be.
I would usually replace a 3-drop with a 3-drop though. So I would probably take out maybe the I don't know. There's only 2 3-drops in Affinity, so.
Yeah, I think I would drop one of the draw cards for it.
So
we'll try it out when it drops.
I'm not even playing draw cards in Affinity right now, so. It might be better than Master of Ethereum, as Unreal Mistake pointed out. Though Master of Ethereum has matches where it really shines.
Yeah.
So
we'll come back to that in a minute. Harbinger of Tides. This is the kind of card that'll be really good at Modern with Aether Vial. I don't think it's.
I think it'll instantly get played in
it's
Modern.
Good in Collected Company decks.
And I'm almost positive it'll get played as a 4 of 2.
Yeah. It is playable against Collected Company decks. Like, in your Collected Company deck, let's say you're playing the blue-green Collected Company deck that exists in Standard.
Did not know that.
It's a mono-blue... It's essentially mono-blue Devotion with 4 Collected Companies.
Oh, really?
You can play it.
Cool.
It's a good card.
This will get played a lot in Standard, I think, because people have been wanting mono-blue to be a thing ever since it was a thing. So...
I'm not sure how good it is, but it is going to go into Merfolk decks, and it will probably go into blue-based Collected Company decks. When it comes into play with haste or with flash, it's good. And you can cast it, right? You may cast Harbinger of Tides as though it had flash if you play 2 colorless. So you can play 2 blue-blue for a 2/2 that bounces a tapped creature, which is nice. Opponent attacks, you bounce their dragon.
Yeah, and that's nice. Great because at 4 mana, you definitely want to bounce something at instant speed.
Yeah.
But at 2 mana, it's good in the early game. And it's still a 2/2 for 2 that helps you with your Devotion. So I think this might make Devotion playable.
It is.
For blue.
It's flexible both ways. It reminds me of the Tide Caller one from last time. Tap down blue-green.
Exactly.
I think it's a little bit more power on the whole and weaker against those specific colors, which is great.
And I think it's a 4 of in Merfolk in Modern.
Yeah.
So
3 or 4 of. We'll see which way it goes, but yeah, it's very good.
I mean, I don't know. So you can either play the one that taps down a creature and keeps it tapped forever, or you can play this one. Isn't that the slot it would probably go in for?
They don't run 4 of those. I think I think those will come out, and these will fill those slots. Jace's Sanctum. Oh, and in limited, this card is good but not great. The fact that you can bounce a creature is very powerful. The fact that it costs double blue means you're going to normally be playing this on 3 or 4. So just imagine it for the most part as 2 colorless, 2 blue. That's the card you're usually going to play. You're not normally going to play it on turn 2.
And you might get to cast his flash for that.
And you're normally going to cast it with the flash. You're normally going to be playing 2 colorless, 2 blue, bounce a guy at instant speed. It's a 2/2. It's a rare 2.
I think that's good.
It is. Oh yeah, that card's great.
It's the best rare we've seen so far, aside from Jace, I guess. So, and it might be better than Jace.
I think Displacement Wave is better than Harbinger of Tides in Limited. Jace's Sanctum is not playable in Limited because you don't have a bunch of instants or sorceries, and Scrying one's not strong enough. Would you play one of these in Control as a 1/of?
I don't know.
In Standard, that's where it's at.
I don't.
You'll try.
I bet a lot of decks will try this in Modern, but I don't think it'll be good enough.
It's too much in Modern. At 4 in Modern, unless there's some sort of... if there's a combo deck we're missing, that's where it would fit. It's some sort of
and most of the combo decks, when you get to 4 mana, you can just go off without it anyway.
With the Phyrexian mana, right? You play this on 4, you Phyrexian mana the card, you pay 2 life, you scry 1, whatever.
No, I don't even think that's good enough because most of the combo decks that go off can go off on 4 without this card.
Yeah,
because they play the other guy that makes them cheaper.
This might make it into some kind of combo deck. We'll see. In Standard, that's where I'm really asking. Standard Control.
Oh, okay. Standard Control, I don't think we'll play this. They might play a 1-of, but that won't dictate any sort of price changes. It's like a $1 card right now.
Okay.
So, now, for EDH, I love this. Any deck that plays mono blue will want a copy of this. And they'll want a foil one, too. So, definitely pick up foils if you can. It'll probably look really badass in foil. That's important for people who are blue mages. So.
All right. So, Mizium Meddler. 2 colorless blue, 1/4 flash. When it enters the battlefield, you may change the target with spell or ability to Mizium Meddler. Do you think this is standard playable?
So, I don't think it's standard playable.
We disagree. I think that this is 3 mana counter target removal spell.
Or have it.
It's counter. I mean, you're saving your dragon for this. It also is 3 mana block an aggressive guy. So you can run 1, maybe 2 of these in your dragon control deck. Your opponent plays their Foul Tongue Invocation. Mizium Meddler. Sacrifice it. Your opponent's playing mono red. Deck with my 2/1s and all my dudes. Mizium Meddler. Somebody kills you, goes to kill your dragon.
So you mean a sideboard card, right?
You can run one in that. What? Other than the mono green deck, or the green based decks. So the green based flip decks like the Abzan Super ones, which make up a big part of the field. That's a bad card for this one. It's bad there, but it's good against red. It's good against decks with creature kill, which also includes the Abzan ones. You know, like you need.
It's good against creature kill, but at that point, if you're using it to stop my creature kill, you could have just played a counterspell.
You only have so many counterspell slots, though.
What?
You're not running a bunch of them.
Well, yes, but your counterspell slots work for more than just stopping a removal spell.
Yep.
So they're a little more utilitous, or whatever the word is, than this guy. Whereas this guy is great against red or other small creature aggressive decks.
And that's what the utility is. Your counterspell is counter target removal spell or target. Let's say it's negate. Counter target removal spell or other effective card. This one is counter target removal spell or block a small creature. Its modes are different. And the other thing I like about it too is, they're niche things. You Abzan Charm your guy to make him bigger. Mizium Meddler. I have a 3/6. Is that too cute?
Choose target spell. Okay, so
yeah,
if I Abzan Charm and put 1 counter in 2 different places,
you can't do that, right? It's target.
No. You can say Abzan Charm, 1 counter here, 1 counter here. I know because I've done it a million times.
No, you can't. If it says 2 different targets, you can't. This has to be a single target card.
Okay, so it won't stop me there. And it also won't stop me if I say Abzan Charm, remove that creature because he's a 1/4 and it wouldn't be a legal target.
Those are both true spots for Abzan Charm.
So he's good, but he doesn't stop all the removal spells in the Abzan deck.
Usually, when you Abzan Charm, you're adding the 2 counters to 1 creature though to win a combat, right?
Depends on the situation. I mean, I do whatever makes the most sense at the time.
Yeah.
Generally, I'm attacking with more than 1 creature. So if I can force a trade and force some damage to, that's better than forcing a trade and having an extra turn. Yeah. And so it really is just a whatever works out fastest, because a lot of the times, if I don't do anything else on a turn, if I leave up the Abzan Charm and I have another removal spell, I'll go ahead and draw the cards. But I'm not going to cast my Abzan Charm when I don't have another removal spell, and I'm not going to cast it into a bunch of open mana.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's good, but he's better against red. So that's why I don't think he'll be a 4-of.
I don't think he'll be a 4-of.
You've convinced me he might be played, but I don't know how much that's going to even be true.
It can change auras. I don't think we're playing any auras on 2 creatures. Usually.
Well, people are actually talking about that in Modern, using him to soak a whatchamacallit. I don't even remember the name of that thing.
Unreal's
Splinter Twin.
It's that it's a bad Spellskite, and he's very correct. It is a bad Spellskite. That's it. Spellskite's the kind of card I'd like to have around.
Oh man, I wish they would reprint that again
Well, this is our bad spell
in
stack.
standard.
Soul Blade, yeah, it is playable and limited, by the way. The fact that it had...
Yeah,
you're
1
gonna
4
have-
for 4 is fine. Or
Your opponent's
3.
more likely to play positive enchantment or aura, so you can take that too.
Not to mention heat's a negative enchantment too.
Yeah.
I mean, he can force your creature to still not have an
Oh, yeah, he
enchantment.
protects your bomb.
So that's pretty cool.
Soul Blade Jin. Oh, you're not picking him highly, though. He's just a wheel.
Yeah.
This card you are picking highly. 5, 4, 4, 3 flying. How do you feel with that card?
Really great. I would take that all day long. And then he happens to have prowess for your team.
Yep. He's
Team
got
prowess.
He's good. You're picking him there. He's great and limited. First pick. Best blue card we've seen.
Yeah. First pick every day.
Talent of the Telepath. Alright. 2 colorless, double blue. Target opponent reveals the top 7 cards. You may cast an instant or sorcery for free from those cards. The rest goes to the graveyard. If you have 2 or more cards in your graveyard that are instant sorceries, you get to choose 2 of those cards. It's actually still not playable in limited at all because your opponent really doesn't have that many cards. You're not actually likely to hit an instant or sorcery.
Now, would you sideboard it in if you saw a reasonable number of it?
Yeah, let's say my opponent's playing like a hard control deck and they're like half creatures, half instant sorceries. Of course, if I feel like I'm likely to hit, well, it's got to be a lot of removal because the thing is,
Yeah, if they've got a lot of removal.
if they don't have that many good targets, let's say they have like defensive cards and like removal spells, but they don't have like game-winning spells. Like you're just getting a bad piece of removal and a good piece of removal. Best case scenario, really.
Yeah. Well, so do you get to cast 2?
Yeah, we're assuming you're even casting 2. I don't actually think this is playable then. I'm wrong. My opponent would have to be running like 3/4 instants and sorceries. I would need a selection of cards.
Where this really shines is probably Commander.
Yeah, I don't think it's playing constructed either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, now, Commander, that would be great. What if you talent into somebody's talent? And then...
There's a ton of cards that are just obscene there.
Yeah, now that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Unreal is correct. It is just really bad because of
Yeah, EDH sounds great for this card. Though.
Thopter Spy Network. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, put a 1/1 colors artifact Thopter with flying into play. Whenever an artifact deals damage, draw a card. This is not a card you first pick. This is a card that you put into your Thopter deck if you have enough Thopters. You need about 8 artifact sources for this to be good. Now, the good news is once you get it turned on, it'll stay turned on.
Probably win you the game.
But you really do. It's a high-risk card. I would not pick this up highly. You probably won't see it because your opponents will probably pick this card much higher than they should.
They probably will. Now, the red-blue deck, you might pick this a little higher because they have a high number of Thopters.
You'll pick it
But
pack 2 or 3 if you know. But
yeah, I'm not gonna like first pick this. I'm probably not even gonna take it out of the first pack. I mean,
No.
unless it wheels and I've already got some of the artifact things. Like, I mean, you're absolutely fine taking this real late in your first pack,
But you won't see it late. People will pick it higher than
They
they should.
probably will.
You need 8 artifacts for this card to really be there. To really be where you want to be. If you only have 1 artifact out and you cast this card, your opponent's going to work very hard to kill that creature. And it's a 1/1 probably, so it's not going to be hard to kill it. If you're at 8 artifact producing cards, 8 artifacts and or artifact producing cards, then it's looking good. But before that,
That's a
it's
lot.
too high risk, too high reward. So you probably won't be playing it often.
So now, Will Breaker, I really don't like for any format. I mean, I can see it being good, but I think you have much better options throughout Standard because most of the Standard spells are going to kill anyway, and you don't want to take them. So
And limited, if we had a multi-targeted card, I'm not sure if we do or
I
not.
don't
Would be
think
playable.
there is. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to play Will Breaker. I don't even think you're going to want to draft Will Breaker at any point because 2, 3 for 5 is pretty useless, and I don't think you've got anything that you can really take advantage of it.
If it was more toughness, if it was a 0/5 or a 1/5, I would consider it. But at 3 toughness, it is very easy to kill. I think that it is just not playable in a limited, and obviously nowhere else.
So, I mean, in Ravnica, they had the 3, 5, 4, 5 that would actually win you the game if you left it around long enough.
Yeah.
That was a perfectly serviceable card because you would make them play bad by just playing it. And it was a 3, 5, so it was still capable of doing damage. This one is not really going to do anything.
Anchor to the Aether. Now, this is not a bounce spell. This is a card neutral spell. A bounce spell is a tempo spell. You trade a card in your hand for some time of a creature not being on the board. This card puts it on top of their library. That's why it's a sorcery. usually pretty standard. Griptide was an instant for 1 more mana. This one puts it on top of your opponent's library, and you get to scry 1. I will play this card. I will play a lot of these cards.
I would probably play as many as Rabast to me.
Which would probably 2. It's an uncommon.
I mean, it's an uncommon. And I love that Scry is now evergreen so that we can see more Scry. That's very cool.
There's an interesting, kind of sad thing you can do. If your opponent puts an enchantment on one of your cards, you can do it to your own card, and essentially you're just getting rid of their enchantment. It does cost you a draw on a card, so I don't normally want to do that. It hurts. But if you need to, it's on a bomb, that's an option. Don't scry your bomb to the bottom of the deck.
That's a good plan. It's a good plan. That's how you win matches right there. Not scrying your bomb to the bottom after you yourself have put it back on top.
Unreal Mistake, yeah. If your opponent's playing the Aura aggressive decks, it is really good.
Oh, yeah, because
I'm not normally playing the Aura positive cards. They're not enticing, and if, negative auras on your creatures, you're not real. We just talked about the downside to the bank card.
Now, I will say that this is extra good because the set is so enchantment heavy, or aura heavy.
Just like Unreal is saying. It may, if there's a really aggressive blue deck, you may see 1 or 2 of these pop up. If they don't, I think it's the best blue removal in all of Standard right now.
This card right here?
Yeah.
You might be right. Blue doesn't have very much removal, so it's pretty easy to agree with that.
Yeah. Let's go to Clash of Wills. This is a standard playable card. We've played it before. It had better effects other times, but the fact that it's just this card, still playable. Still going to play it. It's your 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana, 30 mana counterspell. This is not a good card for limited. Only bring this card in when your opponent has bombs you can't deal with. So...
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with playing one of them in my main board.
I don't even like...
But I would rather play a decent creature. Or
yeah, I'd rather play 0. I'm not saying it's a bad card. It's just not a card you should look to play.
It's no anchor to either.
It's the 24th, 23rd card in your deck. You're looking to cut it if you can. Alright. Speaking of cards you'd like to cut. Hydro Lash.
Yeah, that's... So this is part of that cycle that does something and draws you a card.
Now, I don't think it's playable in Constructed at all. In Limited, you can play this. It can get you more than 1 card. It gets you at least 1 card. It can save you 2 to 4 damage easily. And every once in a while, it's going to turn out to be a blowout. I will play 1 of these in my deck. If I had 2 of them, I'd still only probably play 1 of them in my deck. There'll be times where this card will be amazing. And there's going to be times where this card is 3 mana draw card. The upside is high enough that I'm willing to play 1, but it's usually going to be in decks where I'm just looking to stem damage. It's not as good aggressively. But usually your blue deck has evasion, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not terrible. Not a high pick, as you were saying. The card next to it, though, that's a high pick.
Yes, it's scarifying. Like, your opponent has to block it. It has prowess. So your opponent has to block it because if they don't, you're drawing a card. So you can swing into their 2/2. They look sadly at their hand.
Yes.
And then they block it.
And hope you don't have it.
If you're attacking with multiple creatures, let's say you're attacking on turn 5, you attack with this and a couple other creatures. They block this creature. You play your pump spell on your other creature, or you play a kill spell on one of the other creatures. And now this killed that card, and you had another effect. That prowess on a 1/3... that high toughness means a lot. It's a must-block card.
This is a reprint, right?
No, it's new.
No,
they've never made. This is the best Scroll Thief that's ever existed.
Because they had another one that did something similar in the last set, right?
Yeah, I think this is the best uncommon creature we've seen.
I believe
this is the second best creature we've seen. Soulblade Jinn is the only one better. This is probably going to end up being one of the top creatures just to play. You're going to be playing creatures in your deck. You're playing instants and sorceries.
If you're going to play this guy and a bunch of starfish, you're going to be happy.
Psychic Rebuttal, 2 counter target instant sorcery spell that targets you. This sounds like it's not good enough. And if there are 2 more cards,
you copy it
and you choose new targets. It's still not good enough in Limited because there's not that many cards that target you. The question is, do we end up with a meta where this card becomes good enough for Standard and possibly other older formats? And the answer is, it depends what people are playing. Right? I mean, in theory, playing this against a Hymn to Tourach feels really good. In practice, it's not quick enough in Legacy. If Hymn to Tourach was a Standard card, I could see it. If you're playing some sort of blue-black controlling against a controlling deck in the mirror, maybe you have one of these. Probably not because of the slot efficiency, but this is meta-dependent. It's probably not playable. There can be places where it might exist.
Yeah, and I can actually imagine this being a pretty expensive card down the road.
Yeah.
It might be a $3 or $4 uncommon.
If you're investing in it, it's a fine card to pick
I
up
mean,
because it's
I
like
would
a
definitely
10-cent card now.
Yeah, I would definitely pick my play set up and keep them around because you never know when it's going to be the good card that works for a metagame.
So Sigil Starfish is a reprint. It's still currently legal. It's still not played. In Limited, it is a very strong card. Early game, it's going to buy you some time and fix your draws. Late game, it's going to fix your draws, and they need to kill it because it's essentially a looter for tapping. Mm-hmm. Very strong. Once I know I'm in blue, I don't go into blue for this card, but once I'm in blue, I'm going to heavily pick these up. I would happily run as many as I got, which is going to be 2 to 3 tops. Scab Goliath is 6 for a 6/9, exile 2 creatures, in addition for costing it as trample. This card looks really, really good at first for 6 for a 6/9 trample, which is normally what it is. You'll normally have the creatures to do it. The problem is, in your blue deck, you usually have a lot of guys. Yeah, Unreal is correct. It used to be a common and is now an uncommon, and that is perfectly acceptable.
I thought it was a reprint.
Yeah. But the Scab Goliath, your opponent will have a lot of guys on the ground, usually, unless you're playing like a
Well, this
green.
will trample through them.
Some of them, your opponent might have almost this amount of toughness or power, where they might be trading. Probably not for the 6/9.
Now, for a 6-drop, though, I mean, this is pretty reasonable. It's a 6/9 for 6, and you have to exile 2 cards, which you probably have. So, it's reasonable. I would pick it up.
Are we spiking?
Spiking.
Like, the internet is kind of fading in and out.
Not that I know.
Or the speaking. It looks okay on our end, but it's hard for us to tell. So Scab Goliath, I'm not going to pick up early. It's not a bomb per se because the rest of your deck's probably not pushing this way, but it's a fine card to play. I will play this 6-drop. It is a good 6-drop, but it's not a 6-drop that's going to be...
There we go. Shouldn't spike as much.
Okay. Yeah, this might be a little bit better.
I just turned down the audio.
Wait, this is the range in which it's going, right?
Hmm?
This is the range in which it activates the mic?
No.
What do these 2 tabs mean?
Don't worry about it, Daniel.
Okay!
It should work.
You guys are hearing us okay. If not, you'll tell us. Anyway, Scab Goliath is a good card. Don't overestimate it for a great card. It's not a first pick.
I would definitely take one, though. Hopefully on the wheel.
Sphinx's Tutelage is a card that is interesting, and I will sideboard it in against a control deck, and if I'm like a control deck with an obscene amount of removal, I might run one, but it's essentially a weird grindstone, and it is not a card you can count on to win the game with unless you just have all of the removal that ever existed.
So, the funniest part about this is for 6 mana, you still have to discard a card after you draw one. That is pretty bad.
It's a limited card, and the first ability is supposed to win you the game over time.
I don't disagree with you, but for 6 mana, don't you think they could have given me the draw card?
It might have. Card. They probably tried it. There is probably too strong or too consistent limited. This is a card that's mostly limited. The cool part about this card is you can end up in a meta where something like this is playable in like a control mirror, where they're both really long and drawn out, and you just try to stick an early Sphinx's Tutelage or a late Tutelage with the counter backup. You're probably not going to, but there are times where Grindstone is playable, and this is about as good as that.
Yep. I mean, it's something.
Like, if you're in a sideboard plan where your opponent is, like if you're playing a heavy creature, like you're playing a dragon control, the dragon control ones, you can assume your opponent's going to be sideboarding out cards like Negate or not playing many of them, and you sneak in a Sphinx's Tutelage and try to go long. Like, it's okay. Not great.
It's not terrible. I like that it's an uncommon.
Yeah, that's where it
because
goes.
I don't want to open one of those as a rare.
It'd be more powerful as a rare, but
maybe it would let me draw a card.
It's a limited win condition. It's a limited alternate win condition, which is perfect for uncommon. Towergeist. So how do you feel about a 4-mana 2/2 flying that draws you one of 2 awesome cards?
I do like that.
Yeah, when it enters the battlefield,
it's one of the best ones.
You look at the top 2 cards of your library, and you choose one to go in your hand and one to the graveyard. It's an excellent card. You're getting to choose one of the 2 better cards out of it, and I would play 4-mana flying, draw a card. This is better than that.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Turn to Fog is excellent removal for blue. It's been played before.
It went from common to uncommon for a reason. You're happy to play it. And sometimes it's 2 mana, save a bunch of life, which is the worst card that it gets to be. But that's still a good card. Sometimes you get that extra turn you needed.
Towergeist Baby Mole Drifter.
Yeah, it's like a bad Mole Drifter. And being a bad Mole Drifter makes you a great card.
Yeah.
Whirler Rogue is, I think, the best Thopter making card. It's 2 colors for a 2/2 that comes with 2 more 1/1s. So you are paying 2 colors blue for a 2/2
and 2 1/1s with flying.
2 1/1s flying.
That's pretty good. 4 mana for 4 power and 4 toughness.
Over 3 bodies and has an ability that can be used the turn that it comes into play to make a creature unblockable. This is a very aggressive card. You're not normally going to be always that aggressive, but if you're aggressive or defensive, I think this might be the... I think I like Whirler Rogue better than I like Towergeist. I think Towergeist is a first pickable blue card.
Yep. I agree. I love Artificer's Empathy. Draw 2 cards, and then if you control no artifacts, discard a card. 3 mana at instant to draw 2 cards, and you might have to discard. It's pretty good. They don't usually print instant speed draw at common.
So here's the reason I don't like this card. In the blue artifact deck, which is where you want to play it, because if you don't have the blue artifacts, it's much worse. Now you can discard a land, so it's not terrible. You should still probably be playing this card, but you're not going to play as many as you can get. Like, I would probably run 2 to 3 Divinations. I'd probably run 1 to 2 Artificer's Epiphany, because I want to either play it late or have artifacts.
Yeah.
There's not really any artifacts that you're going to have at 1 or 2, so this is normally going to be a later card. It doesn't help you dig into the land you need as efficiently. It hurts a little bit, and you don't have as many counter spells.
Now, the fact that it's an instant means it might actually get played in standard, though.
Yeah, it could see standard.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd play it in anything in modern.
No, there's better cards.
Infinity. So
the thing that makes it good there is that the instant speed matters more. You have removal and counter spells in your limited deck. You will have some small amount of removal, and that's probably it. You might run 1 counter spell. If you had 2 of these, don't run more counter spells. Counter spells are not very good in limited usually.
Agreed.
Aspiring Aeronaut, 4 for a 1/2 that comes with a 1/1 flying, and it has flying. This is probably the worst Thopter making card. I would not run this unless I was in the Thopter deck and I had incentive cards like, not Artificer's Epiphany quite as much as that red card we saw earlier, or that other blue card. Then I would start considering running subpar versions of these. This is one of the only ones that's bad, so you'll probably get these. You don't want a lot of them. If you're running more than 1 or 2.
4 mana for 2 flying power is
It's 4 mana for essentially a 2/3 flyer. That's not exciting. It is a common. You will get them. So yeah. Bone Dash is a kind of counter spell I will run, because it's counter a creature spell, which is really what I want to do, and draws me a card. The problem is I don't want to play a lot of these. I would probably run none of these main board, and then sideboard them in against bombs. If I had to run them, I could run up to 2 and not feel terrible. The real problem is if you don't have removal to complement it, or other things to do at instant speed, you're going to be sad, because you're leaving this mana open, your opponent's going to evade the turn. If you're ahead, it's okay, but it's not amazing. Calculated Dismissal, 3, counter target spell unless its controller plays 3. If there are 2 more cards in your instant or sorcery, scry 2. This is probably standard playable. This is not playable anywhere else, really.
So I think they wouldn't reprint the one that Mana Leak that's way better. So I think this is a pretty good substitution for Mana Leak.
Unreal Mistake, you are correct in that counterspells do come in these really slow, grindy matches, or in matches where you can't answer their bomb with other cards, but you don't want to start them. I'm just never excited to play any counterspells in my main board. I'll board them in against their appropriate matches, but it's rare. I'd rather have removal. I'd rather try to outrace them, all these other things. Counterspells really are a last resort for me, usually.
As far as counterspells go, that's one of the best, I think.
Oh, Calculated Dismissal?
Yeah.
I think I'd run Bone Dash over Calculated Dismissal in Limited. Obviously, only Calculated Dismissal is playable and constructed because of the mana flexibility and being able to counter anything. And the fact that it scries too late, it doesn't...
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
So Claustrophobia for Limited is one of the best cards we've seen. Just Tap a creature down forever. So
Yeah.
it's been printed several times. It's always playable.
Top tier removal.
So
What you're looking to play. It's one of the only good blue enchantments. So if you're playing the white heavy deck, you're probably not playing Claustrophobia because of the double blue, even though it fits in the enchantment theme.
so now this might make it into the devotion deck for standard.
If that deck ends up happening, I don't think that
If it ends up happening, this will probably be in it. It might have been in it last time. I don't remember.
I can't remember either.
Yeah.
All right, we got Dreadwaters. That's not playable.
No.
You would need too many Dreadwaters in your controlling deck for it to be playable. You'd much rather run a Sphinx's Tutelage, of which you run one, and slowly win the game.
Yep, that's not playable. Continue.
Best common removal. I like Claustrophobia. There's a 5-mana removal spell in black. It's...
To just destroy a creature, right?
I think I might actually like the white one better, too. And the reason I like the white one better isn't just the single white over the double blue.
He means the 4-mana one.
Yeah, the 4-mana one. Sorry, the white one. Being able to recur it in theme is strong. And also, you can, if you are primarily blue, cast this on turn 3 moderately reliably. But in a split deck or a blue secondary color deck, this isn't a 3-drop. This is a
Well, you don't
4.
really want to usually lock down anything that costs 3 anyway. You want to wait and lock down something bigger.
If you're dying.
I know, this is definitely premium blue removal.
Oh, yeah. I'm
So-
always happy to play it.
It's not as good as premium black removal, but it's good. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. It's been a long time since we've had this effect at instant.
Yeah.
Hasn't it?
It's fine. With the amount of auras you're seeing around,
Yeah.
you can run this pretty well. We saw Claustrophobia in that white other card. It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
I would be happy to run one in many of my blue decks.
So 6/6/4/6, and you have to have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Would you run this?
For attacking. In a controlling blue deck, yeah. You're normally going to have... You have to have the correct amount of instants and sorcery. So you're probably in the Spell Mastery deck. But the fact that it shores up the ground means it'll be good. It'll trade with basically anything. Am I excited to run this? No. Will I run this? Yes. So
Pretty much how I feel about it. It's a serpent. You don't see too many of those.
all right, so Fairy Miscreant. 1 for 1/1 flying. That's not playable. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another card named Fairy Miscreant, draw a card. This is the not playable one of the cycle. The fact that the first one doesn't do anything and then you have to get subsequent ones and you only draw 1 card per Fairy Miscreant means it's just not good enough.
Yeah, I really wish they would have made it trigger off itself. Like they did with the white one.
No. So, it would be really good then, a 1-mana
be
1/1 that draws a card.
amazing.
Yeah, that'd be too
It'd be
good.
legacy playable.
Maybe not there.
Oh, it might be.
But anyway, yeah, so I'm sure they tried that templating and realized it was just absurd. But the time you bring this card in is one specific time, when your opponent has 1 toughness flyers. Then it's
Like when
good.
they're playing this card? That seems bad. Alright, 2 mana, 1/3. Seems playable, not exciting.
Yeah,
It seems 3 toughness is the magic number for this set, so that's something to note.
negate is the worst kind of counterspell in Limited because you don't normally want to counter non-creature spells.
Yep. However, I'm glad they're keeping this in standard. Seems fine that it's in standard.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're not printing the one that counters a creature spell, the destroy soul or remove soul.
Remove soul. They have Bone to Ash, which is generally better. Alright, Nivix Barrier. 4 for a 0/4 flash defender. When it enters the battlefield, target attacking creature gets -4/-0. This is playable. This is not great. It is
At
a
4
combat trick.
mana, I would not want to play it.
You'll play
If you
it.
have to, you play it.
You'll play it limited in some spots. The fact of the matter is, it blocks a creature and then probably trades for another creature. You just have to make sure that you're in a
It
position.
doesn't trade for anything.
This creature doesn't. Your other creature does.
Yeah.
You make your, I don't know, you're playing red or green or another creature with
Yeah.
a decent power. You decrease the other creature's power. They trade. Nivix Barrier blocks another one. The problem is, you have this 4-mana trick that is prevent combat damage from target creature. Target creature gets -4/-0. That's what this is really.
Yeah,
It's okay.
It's pretty bad. It's not something I would want to take. Now, the card right next to it, though, fairly good for 5 mana.
At common, yeah, you're looking at 3/3 flying prowess. Your opponent's not only going to be able to block this, you can make it bigger. It'll be occasionally a 4/4.
Now, they printed something very similar to this a block or so ago, and it was great. So,
This will be good. it won't be totally back-breaking, but I'll be happy to play 2 of these. If I only had 2 5-drops, they could both be this.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I am the Pikachu. So Unreal Mistake is pointing out that it does have flash. I do like that quite a bit, that you can play it with your counter spells or bounce spells or other kind of instant speed spells, and that's why I do like having one. Is it having flash? That's about it, though. Screeching Scrab is a 2/1, top 2 cards into your graveyard. It's fine if you have the graveyard theme decks. There is one out there. It's okay. The fact of the matter is it's just a 2/1 for 2, which is often decent for blue. Just early aggression, more likely early defense.
Now, you skipped over the Drake.
Oh, Scrapeskin Drake, 3 for a 2/3 flying. I'll play that card with a small downside. I'll still play that card.
That's still a great card.
I'll highly take that card. The 1 toughness is better than being able to block ground creatures usually, especially since this set has a 2 toughness kind of mattering themes a little bit here and there. Send to
You
Sleep.
need 3 toughness, but yeah.
Yeah, they're cards that deal 2 damage, -2/-2, and the 3 toughness helps.
Yep. Tap up to 2 target creatures, and then it does the what is that flashback spell everybody always played, where they stay tapped.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was
I
called,
check.
but this is a better version of that.
For the most part, if they're 2 or more instant sorceries, they don't untap during the control's next untap step. Send to Sleep will be good for stopping aggression and for winning you games. You're probably running 1 in your controlling deck. You're probably running 2 in your aggressive deck. They're common, so you'll get the ones you need, and it's fine. The thing is, if you get a certain kind of aggressive deck, you could string them together. They get better the more you play.
Yep.
You just having a hand where you have 2 in hand is just usually going to be really bad if you don't have the creatures to support it.
Yeah, if you draw all these and no counters and no creatures, that's bad. But if you've got 3 of these and you've got plenty of low drop creatures, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so Mana War is back, and it costs 4 mana. We have all the rare version, which has flash, which is better than this one. You may return target creature. You can save yourself from auras. It is 4 for a 2/2, but it's just good. You're going to play this card. There used to be a 3 mana version, and it was amazing, and the 4 mana version is still good. I'll take as many of these as I can get. It keeps your opponent off of a lot of things. It stops a lot of important removal. It's just a really solid card. You're not normally going to get more than 1 or 2, but this making up the majority of your 4-drop slot, it provides a lot of tempo, and it's still a serviceable, although not great body.
I like Stratus Walk. It's not something you want to take highly, but it does replace itself, which is a big problem that enchantments, especially auras, don't usually have. And blocking only creatures are flying is not really as important as having the flying. So
Yeah, and
I like it.
The other cool part is if you're playing a primarily green deck and your opponent's hiding behind 1 or 2 key creatures, you can give their creature flying, and if you're ahead on life, you can get your ground creatures through and they can't block. And it still draws you.
That's pretty cool. Yep.
Watercourser is a very serviceable, excellent card. 3 for a 2/3. I'd play that card. It has an upside, which is good. It can push through more damage if you want. It can trade with bigger creatures if you have the mana. It's a card I'm happy
That's
with.
good. I'll definitely pick it.
Alright, let's go to black. Alright, do you think this card, Erebos' Titan, is constructed playable? Go ahead and read it to us.
As long as you can as long as your opponents control no creatures, he's indestructible. And whenever the creature leaves the opponent's graveyard, I can't speak tonight. You may discard a card. If you do, return it from graveyard to hand.
It's 1
So,
black.
I'm
for
thinking
5/5.
there will be a mono black deck. I just don't know how good it's going to be, but it will play 4 of these.
Alright, so the things about it that are nice. If you're playing a control deck, they can't kill it.
That's true.
If you're playing a creature-based deck, whenever the creature dies, you can put it back to your hand.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, it doesn't have other abilities, so I don't like it that much.
I mean, a 5/5 for 4 is not terrible, and if you're playing mono black, you don't care that it's triple black. So I think it'll get played, but I think it'll only get played in the 1 deck.
I will say there are a lot of really cool black cards. All these cards are super interesting.
Oh, yeah, and I think they're trying to make mono black reasonable but not overpowered like it was.
Alright, so we've got Demonic Pact. 2 colors, black. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Hey, that's promising. Now we get a delayed 4 damage to our creature player, gain 4 life. I like that. Target opponent discards 2 cards. That's pretty good. And draw 2 cards. Also impressive. Would you play that card?
So, those abilities are great. those are wonderful. However, that last ability...
Well, let me just... Can I turn the mouse sideways? Can we hide this last ability?
So that last ability means that I'm probably going to be spending another card to get rid of this before I lose the game.
Yeah.
Which means it's really only draw 1 card, in my opinion.
Alright, so there's different things going with this card. First of all, it keeps track of all these abilities. So if you have a donate effect, like in Modern, there's donate effects. Your opponent loses the game when they do it. Over 4 turns, which I think is too slow. The fact that you don't get an effect immediately makes me think this card is still too slow. I actually think that the only home for this card possibly is, can it be played in Standard? And right now I don't think we have the cards that make this strong enough to do it.
You know what's funny is it doesn't say hasn't been chosen by you. So theoretically you could play it, keep it for 3 turns, and then donate it to them. And
No, that's exactly how it works. They have to choose the last one.
However, since you're probably not going to be doing anything crazy like that, especially in Standard, you're going to play this card, which is 1 card you've played. You're going to draw 2 cards eventually, and then you're going to have to spend a card to destroy it. So you've really not drawn any cards.
Well,
you have made them discard, and you have done 4 damage.
The card itself is 1 card that gets you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards worth of advantage. So if you have to spend 2 cards to get 4 cards, it's not bad. The part I don't like is that it's so slow, that it's over time. And limited...
I mean, I'm not playing it in limited, but...
I don't know.
Can you imagine a situation where you would play this as your final spell to kill them? So you play it and immediately you do the 4 damage and kill them?
In limited, I'm
yes, but that's pretty lame.
In limited, I'm normally playing this because it gets rid of a card. I've got 3 turns. And then I'm going to probably draw 2 cards. And play hopefully another card or 2. And then I'm probably having them discard hopefully the last 2 cards or last card in their hand and doing a swing out or something like that. If you're black-white or black-green, you have access to removing enchantments possibly for free. Like there's a green 4/4 for 5 that destroys an enchantment. That's playable. So would I play this in my deck if it was constructed properly? Yes.
It'd be very bold. I would love to be able to play a deck in limited that could play this.
It's a turn delayed Lava Axe is one of the other issues, is that gives your opponent more turn.
Well, Lava Axe does 5, but
yeah, and Lava Axe is not normally
doesn't gain you life. So, but yeah, it's a cool card. I'm glad they printed something like it. It's got a really cool picture. That's definitely worth something.
Yeah, it's not an early pick in limited. It's an interesting card in Standard. It's not a playable card in most of the formats I've ever. Dark Petition, however, is a card that is playable in limited, Standard, and maybe, but probably not Modern. The 3 mana matters a lot. You get to pay 5, search your library for a card and put it in your hand. Spell Mastery, add triple black. So in Modern, let me give you an example of a thing you could play. Dark Petition, Liliana.
That's very true.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this deck exists where Dark Petition is playable in Modern. I am saying there's a lot of powerful effects you can do if you can cast it in Legacy and in Modern, and in Modern. So it's worth looking at. I don't know if it has a slot. In Standard, there is a ton of things you can do. Dark Petition, your black toolbox, which includes maybe cards like Liliana, includes cards like we're going to get to later. There's a exiling of a bunch of creatures effects, playing, oh gosh, what is Hero's Downfall? There's a lot of black 3-drop cards that even if they're all not very powerful at 5 mana, the toolbox of cast any 3 or less black card. That's a good card.
It's very good. I can definitely see it getting some play in Standard, maybe Modern. Probably is a one of. There's definitely better cards.
And Unreal brings up that you can search for the ad nauseum. And I do think it will be very strong. You're going to have to work in Modern and Legacy to make it work. It may not, but it is at the very least an extremely strong Standard card. In Limited, don't overrate this kind of effect. You won't be able to make use of the mana as often. And while searching up your bomb or an answer is good, often just running a better card is better. You didn't normally play Diabolic Tutor. You won't normally play Dark Petition. Building your deck to take advantage of the 3 black mana is what makes this card amazing. Alright, here we are at your card. Tell us all about the spoiler.
This card is good because it pairs so well with Lily, I think. This is going to be the card that enables the mono black deck if it exists, because a 3/1 for 2 is extremely powerful. The fact that you can return it is good, but for the most part, you're just going to try to play this and then trade it so you can flip your Lily. I think. I don't think it's going to get returned that often if you're winning, because you're just going to win. So what do you think?
If there's some sort of graveyard deck, be able to get out of your graveyard snack. I think the parts that are prohibitive is that it's double black and 2 creatures to return. So you're going to return it on average 1 to 2 turns the entire game. In which case you're looking at black for a 3/1.
So I don't think you're ever going to return it. I think you're gonna play 2 mana. You're gonna have a 3/1, and that's gonna be the end. You're gonna play super aggressive. Because as a 1-drop, you could go the 2/1 that can't block, that can return itself. I don't remember what it's called. It's like a zombie.
Yeah, the raid guy.
Yeah, the raid guy. And then
Bloodsoaked Champion.
2, you could play this, and then 3, you could play Liliana. That's quite an impressive board.
I mean, I guess. How much has Blade of the Sixth Pride played?
What's Blade of the Sixth Pride?
Colorless, white, 3/1.
It was played a lot in draft, but it wasn't played too much in standard.
Yeah, that's my point.
But it can't return itself at all.
It's true. It does have a heavy cost.
This can return itself.
I think it is a good option. I don't think it'll be played that much. In limited, you shouldn't play it. Creatures that can't block is a very big effect.
Yeah, that's true.
And your 3/1 is bad. It's just going to trade down.
Now, if a mono black deck exists, this will be in it as a 4/0. So, and I expect it will exist. I don't expect it'll be great.
If there's a mono black aggressive deck, this will be in it. All right. So, Gilt Leaf Winnower, 3 colorless black for 4/3 with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy a target non-elf creature whose power and toughness aren't equal. This is not good enough for most constructed. There might be a place in standard where the card you want to
you
kill.
said that. There's a lot of hype being generated for this card, and I don't think a conditional removal spell attached to a 4/3 is worth 5 mana.
I don't
even though it can't be blocked by 2 or more creatures.
Because the 2 creatures I want to kill most, which is Ojutai and Silumgar, can't be targeted. It can't target any of the
you actually
dragon.
want to kill Siege Rhino too.
Okay, Siege Rhino, sure,
but I mean, there's a ton of stuff it kills.
What does it kill that's not Siege Rhino?
What does it
kill?
Siege Rhino? Well, it kills a large portion of the Abzan deck, actually.
But it doesn't kill any of the Dragon Lords, right?
I really.
They all have hexproof.
Well, it kills the green-black one, right?
There's no
not green-black one. Red-green one. Kills the red-green one, right? No, it's an 8/8. No,
it kills a tapped Ojutai.
It kills the white-green one that nobody plays.
That one sees a little play, but that's usually out of board. That's what I'm saying. It's just do you really want a 4/3 that?
I don't want conditional removal when I can just play.
I could see it as a 1/of in black X decks, or a 1/of or 1 or 2 of the sideboard, but I'm not excited. In limited, however, I am excited because a 4/3 with Menace is okay at 5. It's good,
and if you kill something, you kill something.
Then you can usually find something to kill. So this can easily be your 2 or 3 for 1.
And now they put May on there, so you don't have to kill your own creature.
Yeah,
because it would kill good. Because old school text, it would have just said destroy target 9/elf creature. So
the thing I won't be picking this first. This won't be swinging me into black, but it will be a card I'll be picking up as I keep going. All right, Graveblade Marauder, 3 for a 1/4 Death Touch. Whenever Graveblade Marauder deals combat damage to a player, that player loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Do you think this is playable in Standard? Let's just say Standard.
In Standard? I think a 1/4 with Death Touch is playable for 3 mana. Right now, we have a 3/3 with Death Touch that gets played a ton. Of course, that has a lot of shenanigans. This, however, blocks and kills basically everything on the ground because it has Death Touch. It's only 3 mana, and if it does connect, it has a pretty good upside.
You're dealing 2 to 5 damage.
It depends. I mean, early in the game, since I've played a few removal spells, maybe fetched once, I might be dealing.
Okay.
I might be dealing more, but I'm probably. You're right.
Okay.
2 to 5.
All right.
3 mana though, pretty decent for something that could deal 5 damage.
Winnower is an easy first pick. You know what, Unreal? You may be right. I mean,
I would pick a Menace as a first pick, a 4/3 Menace or 5. Who cares if it has the other ability?
Let's see.
I mean, what are you picking over that?
Yeah,
as far as rares, what are you picking over that?
The rare
super bombs, right?
The rare comparison doesn't matter because you don't open 2 bombs in the thing. You're picking commons, and really, actually, you are probably right. It will probably beat out most uncommons. It's just not as exciting as I'd like it to be for the double black.
I think Menace is very powerful, especially since you might.
But when you're right,
trot it up.
Yeah, Graveblade Marauder is actually a card I'm excited to about as well. But realistically, Guildleaf Winnow is probably going to be a better card than Graveblade Marauder, and I like Graveblade Marauder a lot. I would generally first pick it. So Unreal is probably correct in that I'm just discounting Winnower because it is a 5-mana removal spell with it. So it's a 2-for-1.
So really, it's not a removal spell, I think, in Limited. It's more like a 4/3 with Menace for 5. Yeah. Now, however, I think Graveblade Marauder is a removal spell for 3 mana that won't hit flyers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
looking at these cards more makes me realize that Guildleaf Winnow is probably a lot better than I was just saying. Speaking of cards you probably are playing in Standard, I think Infinite Obliteration. All right, let me give you this simple place. You're playing against the Dragons deck. They're currently running 4 Ojutais, 1 Ugin, 1 Silumgar, and 4 of the lands against them back. You cast turn 3 Infinite Obliteration. They don't have a response. You take all of their Ojutais.
I mean, you're right. However, they keep printing this card, and it still doesn't see much play.
They play this card at 4 usually. This is a...
it's 3.
It's 3. That's a big deal. The 1 turn matters quite a bit, right? Would I play... Okay.
I wouldn't play more than couple of these probably.
I would play
and they're in the sideboard, right?
You can in your Dark Petition deck play 1 main board. I probably wouldn't, but you can, and you probably run 1 or 2 in your sideboard. You could run 3 if the meta ends up very awkward. The fact that you can take out all the Abzan, you can take out all the Siege Rhinos. Like, what's the Abzan deck without Siege Rhino?
I mean, it's still a fine deck,
but it's not a great deck. It's a fine deck.
Well, the fact that you're playing so many creatures in the Abzan aggro deck means a lot less. However, this is 3, so you could theoretically cast it before they cast the first Siege Rhino, which is great.
The other reason I like this card isn't because you play it for specifically card. You play this with your discard suite. You play Thoughtseize on turn 2.
That was what I was about to mention. The best part about this card is Thoughtseize.
You play your turn 2 Thoughtseize, and then you turn 3 Infinite Obliteration, and you're like, oh. Now, there are times where it's a little tricky, right? Let's say that you're playing your Morph cards, and you had Deathwing Raptor and the Din Protector. You don't know which one's face down. Sure, that's the corner case. But most cases are your opponent plays a creature or nothing, and they have a creature in hand. You 1-for-1 them, Infinite Obliteration. It's probably a decent card. It's good against Deathwing Raptor. It's good against Din Protector, because it exiles them from all sources.
And let's not forget, you could Thoughtseize, pull a creature out of their hand, right? And then Infinite Obliteration and name that creature that they're probably 4 of, if they have nothing else of value.
Oh, it's
so even its very, very, very low side is still going to rip the key cards out of their hand.
Yeah, and they probably have more than 1 creature.
So, I don't know. It's okay. It's great for fighting the Demis Raptor combo, I guess.
It's good against the hard dragon control decks, too. I'm not saying this card is amazing. I am saying that there have been versions of this playable and versions unplayable. Cranial Plating was played. What was the uncounterable one that was in Ravnica Returned?
So that one you had to target something in a graveyard, though, right? The split second one?
Not the split second one. The uncounterable one that was 2 colorless and red-black.
Oh, I don't remember that. It was played, though.
Yes, it was. Now, the uncounterable part counted quite a bit for that.
Yeah. Infinite
Obliteration, in my mind, falls into the playable but not exciting category.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really pickable in draft, so
no,
you don't really need to worry about that. However, the next card is quite playable.
Kothafed,
and probably standard and definitely in draft. It is a bomb in draft.
Yeah, in draft you're just a 6/6 for 6 flying.
For that matter. I hope I get one of these in sealed.
And limited at all. It's a 6/6 for 6 of flying. It has an upside that will almost never kill you. So it's just an upside. In standard, I don't think it's quite good enough. It's not normally going to live the turn. That's the problem.
In standard?
Yeah. That's the problem. You're playing a 6/6 for 6 and hoping to untap.
That's true. I mean, a lot of things just don't live in standard. That's most of the cards you play probably won't live.
Yeah.
So
You know what is playable in standard and limited and modern? Languish.
modern.
Oh, yeah. I think Languish is better than Damnation. Damnation's not played much.
That's a hardcore claim right there.
In the decks you're playing it in, you're playing it with your Tarmogoyf, which it doesn't always survive, but you're playing it with your what's the guy who's Delve? The Delve cards. The Angler and the Legend.
Tasker and
Tassiger and Angler both live through it. This is the play you make after you play your Tassiger or Angler. You sweep their board and you have a creature just sitting there. 5 toughness creature.
That's pretty cool, but
What cards are you?
I don't know.
What cards is Damnation killing that you kill about other than Titans?
well, I don't know when you usually sideboarded Damnation into Modern. However,
I think it's better
I think
than
a lot
Damnation.
of those sideboard in that you would put in a Damnation for, you wouldn't put Languish in for. So if you're like replacing it, I don't know if that's going to work.
I mean, what
Because I think one of the things you want to kill with Damnation is the Tasker and Angler on their side, and is the Termagorth on their side.
And this is normally going to kill Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf is usually 3/4. Sometimes it's a 4/5. So yeah.
I see it at 4/5 way more than I see it anything else. So
Yeah, your Rhinos, all that. Yeah.
not to mention, people are still playing Siege Rhino in Modern, and it doesn't kill that.
Right. But you're playing your own Siege Rhino, so more often you're likely to have your Siege Rhinos and Delve cards and play against people that don't. Now, I'm not. First of all, Damnation's not played in mass. It's usually 1 to 2.
It's usually a one of, right?
So I think the one of Languish will take over that spot.
You think so?
If the decks have the Delve cards to go with it, or the Siege Rhinos, yes, I think it'll be replaced. Other than your opponent's cards, so it'll be worse then.
So I have a question. If most people are playing Languish, wouldn't you rather play Damnation then?
No, because I'm playing it with my cards that survive the Languish. So let's say that I'm playing
But
against
they're
the burn
playing
deck.
it with their cards that survive the Languish. So wouldn't I rather have a Damnation?
No, because in most matches you're playing against the burn deck, and that's when your Languish is played, or you're playing against the Delver deck, and then your Languish is better, right? Or the Monastery Mentor deck, and
So
then your Languish.
all of those Damnation's equally good though.
No, because I get to keep my Delve cards.
So.
You get to keep board presence if you're playing the quote-unquote Abzan Rock-esque deck.
Okay.
It is worse if you're playing against specifically Bloom Titan or the Mirror.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times if you don't have board presence, you can just play your Delve spells after you cast the Languish, though. So I don't see it being much different. Now, I do like that this will be a $5 card or something, whereas Damnation's a $50 card. So if they're relatively the same, you can play this.
Well, I mean, like, let's say you're playing against your burn deck. Does the one turn of having your guys out matter? A lot, because they can just burn you if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you can play your creatures, that's great. But sometimes you're gonna the first spell you play you're not gonna play any creatures until you have Damnation, or like because they cost too much.
But we'll see.
So
Which way it
I
goes.
like that if this is basically a Damnation for Modern, this is a $5 Damnation for Modern.
Yeah.
I however, don't think it's much different in most cases, and building around it might be not really worth it considering you're only playing one anyway.
Yeah.
Or you're only playing one Damnation, so.
Unreal, people will be playing Languish or Damnation. If there's 2 slots, they may play one of each. I think I like Languish better than Damnation as a whole. In Modern, I would run one Languish over that. I don't have as an experience with the Abzan deck, but the fact that you could keep your guys on board does count for quite a bit.
I just think more often than not, you want to take their guys off the board that have 5 toughness with the Damnation.
Yeah.
So Languish is probably worse than Damnation.
He's pointing out that Drowned Sorrow is better in Burn. Yeah, Languish is filling the slot of Damnation. You either playing Damnation or Languish. We'll see which one.
Yeah.
Let's go on, though.
I'm glad they printed it, though.
Obviously, Unlimited, you want to be running these.
yes. 6 of them.
Yeah.
We'll take.
Damnation or Drawn in Modern?
Drown.
Oh, Drown. Drown is
So yeah, I think Damnation's better, too. However, if you can set up a situation where Languish is better, that's great, because Languish costs $5 and Damnation costs $50. Modern's too darn expensive.
Yeah. All right. Priest of the Bloodright.
I like this guy.
5 for a 2/2 when it enters the battlefield. Put a 5/5 into play. At the beginning of it, keep you lose 2 life.
The best part about this card for limited is that 2/2 almost exactly has unblockable. unless they have a creature that's like a 1/3.
Yeah, and
So,
there's
so that
sacrifice.
2/2 is unblockable, and that 5/5 is no strings attached.
And if you have sacrifices effects, it's good. If you have bounce effect, you can get more than one. There's a lot of nice parts.
You could play this guy and then put him back on top of your library with that other spell, or back into your hand with a blue spell, and then play him again.
Unreal. Yeah, for Languish.
So Unreal is saying it's not a Damnation slot or Drowning Slaughter slot.
It has to be the Damnation slot. Either you don't run this at all, or you run this instead of Damnation because they're 4 mana. That's what I'm saying.
Well, then you're probably not running it if Unreal is correct,
Yeah,
because you would rather have the Damnation, I think.
They'll test it out. I mean,
However, if they're very similar, if it turns out they're very similar, then Language is a much cheaper Damnation as far as money. I think that's important.
my thought is that it's similar to Damnation. It's just usually better because you have 5 toughness creatures for sure, and your opponent likely doesn't. But let's keep going. We can talk about whether Languish is replacing Damnation or not. It is certainly not Drowning Sorrow because Drowning Sorrow costs 1 less mana.
So the Priest, I think, is first pickable.
Yeah, it's a 5/5 flying for 5 with a 2/2 body. That's great.
Yeah.
There will be
7 power and toughness for 5 is pretty good. You lose 2 life a turn, but as long as they're losing 2 life a turn, you're probably okay with that.
Oh yeah, they're losing 7 life a turn.
Now, Tainted Remedy, I think we'll see a ton of play.
It is very, very good.
See,
mirrors,
Unreal
yeah.
said basically what I said about Damnation. You basically bring it into mirrors.
Yeah.
And Language doesn't help there.
Tainted Remedy is a card that will see some amount of modern play even. This might possibly be legacy playable. I'm not exactly sure. There's a deck that builds around this, but it's a tier 2 deck. It's all the green free spells they play.
Oh, so I saw a version of this, but I didn't see a legacy version. I saw a casual version. I think that would be a really fun deck to play in Legacy if you just played a bunch of free spells in Tainted Remedy.
Now, the thing about it in modern is, other than Kitchen Finks, what do people play that matters?
Well, they do play the Siege Rhino.
Siege
That's
Rhino.
pretty cool. The Kitchen Finks. Wow, this is an amazing card against Kitchen Finks. A lot of Zoo decks play Kitchen Finks. A lot of decks play Kitchen Finks.
Okay, so you have Kitchen Finks,
So
Rhino. It's indirectly just completely one
I-
single card like stops the Soul Sisters, but that's not really an issue.
So there's not really a. Well, I guess there is a deck that plays it. So you remember Grove of the Burn Willows.
Yeah.
Now makes them lose a life instead of gain. That's pretty neat.
I don't think all that makes it worth a slot.
No, but that is an additional effect that you get to put in your already existing deck. And it has effects. That's pretty cool. Not making a break in the card. In Standard, however, this is really cool.
Yeah, the Unreal, the Legacy Green Black deck is the Unreal, or it's not Unreal, is the False Cure deck. It's not really good enough. I don't think Tainted Remedy will put it forward, and I don't think there's enough effects that make Tainted Remedy worth it. In Modern, we could be wrong, and there could be a combo.
Well, there's also the equipment or whatever.
Now, there is one interesting thing I want to point out. Tainted Remedy plus Beacon of the White Beacon doubles your target player's life, does instantly kill somebody. It costs 6 mana, but it kills them.
Weird. I'm sure that'll be a deck at some point.
Yeah, you get a tap 6 kill target player. So there's that. I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm not sure in Standard.
So in Legacy, there's the target player gains 4 life, and then 4 for every life burst in the graveyard, I believe.
You're probably just playing the green free spells that make your
So
invigorate.
you're playing black Tainted Remedy, green free spells, blue, so you have counter spells?
Nah, you're probably just playing green black, and you're just that deck exists. I used to try it out on different programs. It just is not consistent enough.
So you're not playing white to go get the enchantment?
No.
Whatever, Idyllic Tutor? I would play white
You would
to
have
get
4 of
enchantment.
these enchantments. You'd have 2 of these enchantments and 4 of the double black instant.
Oh, you think it's still better? The False Cure?
Yeah, it is because it's cheaper. You're just going off on a turn.
So I really like this for Standard, though. I think it'll be...
How many cards gain life right now that matter?
Probably only Siege Rhino, but in the mirror that's... Oh, well, no, there's also, what's his name, that has prowess.
Yeah,
So-
the 2/2. So one
really
place I
like
do
this
like
deck.
Tainted Remedy is it becomes a more viable sideboard card if white blue X control, like if red white blue comes back, because it makes cards like Sphinx's Revelation uncastable.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
It's not right now, but if Modern gets to a position where there's, you know,
a real control deck?
Soul Sisters, Blue, White, Red, and Kitchen Sink X decks are all kind of popping around, and there's a decent amount, then all of a sudden your Tainted Remedy becomes okay.
Yeah.
Also, I might consider playing Tainted Remedy in a black-red version of Burn, where this acts as my version of a bad Sulfuric Vortex. Right? You brought in your Kitchen Finks and Dragon Claw, I brought in my Tainted Remedy.
So, would it be better than Sulfuric Vortex, though?
Oh, God, no. It's much worse.
Okay, so you probably wouldn't play it then.
Sulfuric Vortex isn't legal in Modern.
Oh, okay.
Because
so
if it was Modern, it would be a Tier 1 deck.
Yeah. Well, it might be a Tier 1 deck anyway, the Burn deck.
So. Yeah, well, it would definitely be a...
So that is pretty funny that it works as a poor Sulfuric Vortex in Modern. It'll see play, but it's going to be a sideboard card, so it's only going to be a few dollars, I bet. Right, I did actually pre-order this card, though.
Let's look at some limited cards. Blightcaster, 4 for a 2/3. I'm okay with that. Whenever you cast enchantment, you may have target creature get -2/-2. Staple in the enchantment deck. I'm happy to take one of these in my first pick around. If I don't have a better or much stronger option, I'll lean towards this because being in black with this card, this is a build around me card. I'll take it pretty early. You can get the enchantments. It'll come around. They're good black enchantment removal and good white enchantment removal at common. Speaking of enchantments that I actually will play, Consecrated Blood. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying.
Good enough.
Good enough. Sacrifice 2 other creatures, regenerate this creature. That's not a 0 effect. You can get rid of 2 bad creatures to give that flying. You can sacrifice creatures to put them in your graveyard. We said there are effects with that, this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean, you can sacrifice the priest. That's pretty neat.
Right. Speaking of premium removal, this is a kind of removal we don't really get anymore. 5 mana. Destroy target non-zombie creature. Unconditional removal, for the most part.
At instant speed.
It can't be regenerated. Also relevant. Return up to 1 target zombie from your graveyard to your hand. Possibly getting 2 cards out of 1. This is exactly the kind of card that I am happy to pick up. Even if I don't end up with the zombie, your opponent is not going to be able to play around unconditional removal. The only zombie that we saw that was must kill was a mythic. Right? And with cards like Fleshbag Marauder hanging around here, if I can get that back, that's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Speaking of amazing, we have Eyeblight Massacre.
So I don't think it's amazing, but it is good.
Non-elf creatures get -2/-2. If you're playing black, you're probably playing some amount of black elves, even if you're not in black-green elves, and it'll usually kill your opponent's board. Against your elf opponents, you should sideboard this out.
So we did notice that 3 toughness seems to be the number for the set, so that's to keep in mind when you're playing this.
Yeah, and this is a rough card too. This card will mess you up. There's a lot of decks that will just lose to it.
So you have to make sure that you are going to be in a position to win when this resolves. So
yeah, Fleshbag Marauder.
And by win, I mean win the loss of cards.
Yeah. Fleshbag Marauder is a solid sacrifice. It's essentially at worst 3 mana. Target player sacrifices a creature. The good news is you can usually sacrifice a worse creature. Something to be aware of with Fleshbag Marauder. Let's say you have a bomb out, and you play a Fleshbag Marauder, and in response to its trigger, they kill your Fleshbag Marauder. You are now sacrificing your bomb. So
it's very true.
Be a little bit cautious when you're playing your Fleshbag Marauder. It is not strictly a sorcery. You can get a little bit shaked there and
pretty
in a rough spot.
That's never happened to me, but that would be an excellent combat trick to pull on someone.
Oh yeah. Gnawroot Trapper is 1 for a 1/1. Pay 1, add a mana to your mana pool. When you place on an elf, target attacking elf you control gains Death Touch. In Limited, you're not normally going to play this card unless you have a high density of elves, because the second ability is only decent. If I had 6+ elves I played in Limited, how do you feel about it in the elf constructed deck?
So if there is an elf constructed deck, this will probably get played. Now, for right now, though, we already have a 1 mana elf that gives you a green mana that you can spend on anything and doesn't cost you a life. So it may not be played until after rotation.
Okay.
So
They might just play 8 mana elves.
They might. It's possible. I mean, I don't really know what the deck would play before this set was legal, because there's not really an elf deck except for the Collected Company elf deck in Modern, which won't play this. So
They also might play between 4 and 8, I should say. Like, you might
They
play
could.
5 or 6.
They
Okay.
could. I mean, it's not a terrible card. It has 2 abilities, and one of them is granting something death touch. That's pretty good.
If we see any Elves with Trample, it's especially good. Let's go to Malakar Coldblade. 2 for a 1/1. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, it gets a +1/+1 counter. This card's okay in limited. Here's the realistic thing about it. It's probably 2 mana for a late turn 3/3. Don't think about this card being
Probably
that
2
hated.
mana for a 1/1.
Well, I mean, things are going to die. Let's say you play it on turn 4 and you attack with your 2 guys, and your opponent's like, well, I should block 1. But then it's a 2/2, and maybe 3. Top end, you paid 2 mana for an installment 4/4, which sounds really good.
It's
But
a little slow.
It's just not that good. It's not worth your uncommon slot.
I guess if you have a ton of removal in your deck, you might would play one of these, but still, that's kind of mediocre. You might should just play.
You'd rather
something
spread
else.
your big, dumb,
Yeah.
much less cost-efficient card. Necromantic Summons. Look at that sweet elk. It's a 5. Put target creature from a graveyard into your battlefield under your control. Spell Mastery gets 2 1/1 counters. This card is not normally playable. What you like to imagine about getting your bomb back, bigger, better than ever. What realistically happens? I got my Malakar Coldblade back. Woo! It might be a 3/3.
It's a little bit of an overstatement. I mean, you might get your Fleshback Marauder back and instantly die again. So
Yeah, but I mean, like I'm saying, it's just not that great. It's not as good as it
really
looks. The dragon version of this did get played a little bit in standard, but that's because it ran a bunch of dragons and it wanted to reanimate a Tarkas at 8. This isn't a good limited card. It's not unplayable, but it's not a high pick. It's not a mid pick. It is a card I want to cut actively because you're usually getting something that costs less than 5.
now, didn't they print something similar to Revenant at like 2 mana without flying recently?
Yeah,
And
but
it still didn't really get much play. So.
you know what's really good in limited? Revenant. It's usually at worst it's like a 2/2 or 3/3 flyer.
I think flying is really what makes this card playable
Yeah.
because the other version of the card wasn't very playable.
No, because it gets blocked.
So this is a fine card. You'd take them.
I mean,
you're not going to take all of them. I mean, you're not going to take more than 2 or 3 probably.
Unreal, you're not running that many cards that cost 5 or more, even if you can get your opponent's cards. Like, how many cards do you play that cost more than 5 mana? That's what you're looking at Necromantic Summons. And the answer is not usually many.
I mean, I would love to play a self-milling deck. That'd be fun, but I'm
How
not
many-
sure it's there.
But even if it is there, how many cards are you playing
That worth it? Not
That
very
cost
many.
5 or more mana? They need to cost 5 or more just to be.
All right,
really
so
great.
let's move on to Shadows of the Past.
This is a cool card. I'm not sure if this is playable or not, but I want it to be. You play it usually in your moderately controlling deck with a lot of speed bumpy type creatures, things like Fleshbag Marauder, or later on we'll see a card that's a 1/1 that draws a card. And then it's a 5 mana ability that is okay and moderately inevitable. I don't actually
one of these, I believe.
I don't think I would, but I want to.
I think I would play one of them. So, I mean, it may not work out, but 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard is not really asking too much from a 2 mana spell. And getting to 5 mana is not really asking for too much. Now, 5 mana to drain them for 2. How many times are you going to be able to do that before you need to just play a creature or sit behind your wall of creatures? Or...
Behind your wall of creatures, it's okay.
So it's very conditional. You're going to want some high toughness stuff, and if you have high toughness stuff, why don't you have the power to just go ahead and attack through them?
because you have a bunch of catacomb slugs.
But I mean, there
is this green black or green blue deck that's slow and grindy, and
Now-
it does use this to win.
Now, Shadows would be a great sideboard card, I think. Because if you do get into that stall the first game, whether you win or lose, you might be able to get in that stall again and win because of this.
Yeah, you bring it in at the board.
But I will play one of these.
I don't think I'll play one main board.
Probably not in main board.
I think it's coming out of the sideboard.
Now, if I build the deck and it looks like I've got a ton of toughness creatures, maybe I'll put one in there and see if it works.
There's a deck for it. I just don't think
So.
it's normally going to come together. Tormented Thoughts is 3 for sorcery as additional cost. Sacrifice a creature. They discard a power. We've seen this card before. It's just not playable.
Mm-mm.
You're putting too much resources in. You're sacrificing a high power card to make them discard. That's not very good usually.
Now, the Slug, I don't really want to be playing this either.
But you will sometimes.
I will if I have to. That's what commons are for.
Alright, Dark Dabbling is a card I do not want to play. I'll play one, but not be happy about it. Not super sad. I'll probably never play
Generate a creature, draw a card. This is part of that cycle.
If you have 2 or more
You know,
instant sorceries,
It's
you
a
can
pretty
generate
cool
2.
combat trick, but probably not as good as the other ones in the cycle.
It's interesting that best case scenario, it is draw 3 cards. It's a 3-for-1. You regenerated 2 cards. You killed 2 of their creatures and drew a card. The downside is like it can be pretty poor. The nice part is at its like worst, it usually is just 3 mana draw a card. So maybe I'll run one main board, but I don't think I'll ever want to run more than one. I'd rather pull it in from the sideboard.
The Shaman, 3/1 for 3 is perfectly serviceable as a card, and when it dies, they draw a card.
Discard a card.
Discard a card. Yeah,
They
That's
discard
fine.
a card.
That's fine.
It's nice on offense or defense with the 3 power.
It's fine. It's got the 3 power, which I'm thinking is going to be really important in this set. And then discarding a card is marginally better than
There will be
just the
many
3/1.
situations where your opponent will choose not to block, possibly incorrectly, but choose not to block
That's
this
fine.
thing.
Target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn.
Gray Ogres are playable, and Gray Ogres with upside are much more playable. There's a decent amount of times where this either kills something like a Dead Bridge Shaman, or more importantly, you attack in, they make a normal block, you either bounce or trade, you clink, the creatures don't kill each other, but they
It's
don't
bounce. Is what
Yeah.
people call it. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You wouldn't want more than one, probably. I mean, they're not beneficial in multiple numbers. They're not, exciting as a 2/2. So you probably just want one.
Serviceable though.
Yeah, I mean, 23rd card, whatever.
I think it's a little higher than that. I'm not unhappy running them. It's just middle of the road. It's like my 17th card.
Yeah, I'm not wanting it. So
Would you rather have a Dead Bridge Shaman or an Eyeblind Assassin?
definitely a Dead Bridge Shaman.
That's interesting because I think I might want to have an Eyeblind Assassin. I'll have to go back and look and check to see the 1 toughness.
I'm thinking the 3 power is so important in this set.
I'll have to go back and check the
So.
1 toughness is. But yeah, if there's enough 1 toughness, then it's the Eyeblind Assassin. But if it's not, it is definitely the Dead Bridge.
So the Imp, however, is amazing.
yeah, it's 2
Death
for
Touch on a 2/2, even for 1 mana.
2/1,
Sorry,
1/2.
1/2 on a 2 mana creature is what I'm trying to say. Is excellent.
Yeah.
This will trade up a lot,
Yeah.
or fly past a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it pings in and it can kill things. It's powerful. I'll be happy to pick them up. It'll be one of the better black cards overall, and it does come at a tempo cost, but it's worth it. Infernal Scarring is not worth it unless you're playing the the enchantment deck, because +2 toughness and a delayed draw trigger is not very good.
+2 attack, but it's not
sorry.
terrible. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing one of them.
Hey, Beast Eaters.
So anyway, one of them lets you replace it and have 2 additional power. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
It definitely makes a lot of your mediocre cards with high toughness better, but it's not a first pick.
Or you're aggressive.
Maybe your 24th card. So.
Yeah. It's one of the few cards that goes into the aggressive black-white enchantment version, but I'm still not excited. Macabre Waltz, 2 mana, return 2 creatures from your graveyard to your hand, and discard a card. Usually discarding a land. This is a late game card. I'm happy to run 1 because it's essentially draw 2 creatures out of your graveyard.
That's pretty okay.
It's not super exciting, but
A lot of these
fine.
cards have been very mediocre. The Nantuko Husk, pretty good actually, though I don't think there's a lot to set it up.
We saw a couple things that wanted sacrifice outlets, but yeah. One of the things I want to point out about Macabre Waltz is that it's better than the 4 mana versions.
Black Green Elf with Sabretooth.
Do you think Black Green Elf was there?
What's Sabretooth?
Oh, we're going to get to those green cards later.
Man, we've been going for nearly 3 hours. We're not even through 3 colors.
Oh, God, it's taking
Pretty
forever.
epic.
We might have to hustle a little bit. But one of the things I want to point to with Macabre Waltz that's actually really good is that returning the 2 creatures for 2 mana means that you can usually cast 1, right? So you cast it on turn 6, you discard your land, you cast your 3 or 4 drop. All right, we are going to hustle a little bit more, though. I didn't realize this. So jeez, we might have to split this up. All right, Nantuko Husk is solid. Night Stare is a card I wish they had made before, and they finally made it, and I think it's limited playable. 4 mana, your opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card and make them discard it, i.e. their bomb. Or they discard 2 cards. the 2 cards you want to get rid of. Mind Rod is occasionally playable because it gets the last 2 cards out of their hand, and you hope that one of those is a bomb. But this card, you're normally casting that after 3, by the way. You're usually casting it on turn 4, 5, or 6. This card lets you just pull the bomb out, or if they have 2 cards that are okay, they discard both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's great, though.
No, you probably just bring in the sideboard, but I think it's better than Mind Rot, usually.
Yep.
And better than Corrosion, which is cool.
So, the Bloodsucker I like. 3/2 is a little weak for flying for 5 mana, but it does drain him for 2 instantly. Seems serviceable as a 5-drop.
Not exciting. It's like the 3/3 with Life King. Beast Eater is talking about putting a combo deck together with the Sabertooth and the uncommon black-green drain card. I do not think those cards are going to go back together. I don't think you're repeatedly going to have time and standard to cast a drain 3 or 4 creature. Unreal, I think you're normally bringing in the sideboard, and I think you're normally just trying to get rid of
their bomb.
Their bomb, and you're not normally casting that early because their bombs aren't normally costing less than 4. It's not.
I mean, I'd say most of the big expensive mana things in this set that we've seen are uncommons, right?
Yeah, there's some rares.
So you'll probably get one of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, Read the Bones, perfectly serviceable. You might play one of.
I'll play up to 2 or 3 of these.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, this is like just upgrade over divination. Sometimes it's sometimes it's gonna kill you, but more games the 4 cards matters more than 2 life. I love this card. It's great in Theros. It'll be even better here where the format's slower than Theros.
Mm-hmm.
Reave Soul is a card you will play several of. Destroy target creature with 3 power or less at sorcery speed. It's not overpowered removal. It's conditional, but it's still good. It's a upgrade from defeat, and defeat's playable. You'll continue to play it.
Centaur of the Returned. 2/4 for 4 is fine. The fact that it mills them could actually help them as much as it could hurt them, so whatever.
You're putting this in your self-mill deck. You're not picking it up aggressively. You'll get them as you need them. It can make the deck better. It's just a little slower.
4 toughness is pretty decent on a 4 mana card. If it were a 3/4, it'd be amazing. So, whatever.
You know what's really good? Paying 2 for a 2/3.
I agree.
I like this card.
And the fact that it enters Battlefield tap matters so little.
It's not going to save you the turn you need a blocker, but often it is a great attack with that extra toughness.
So I would definitely take as many of those as I can get. Each opponent who doesn't control an F loses 1 life.
Not playable.
Not playable. Next, Touch of the Morning Glove.
Touch of the Moon Glove.
Morning Moon Glove. Okay. Whenever a creature dealt damage by this creature dies, its controller loses 2 life.
This is a good card.
That's pretty cool.
This is a combat trick. It's only an aggressive combat trick, but when your opponent, you can...
So here's the thing. You could trade up and they have to lose the 2 life.
It's better in aggressive decks than defensive decks. The thing that you need to really focus on is the +1 power and the death touch, which means that if you put it on a creature and they double block, they won't normally double block your 1/1, but it'll let you, make them lose 2 to 4 life. It's not super exciting because we don't have any green cards, but it is exciting with the Prized Unicorn. It's uncommon. They have to block with, it has to be blocked with all creatures. So
it's pretty exciting for 1 mana too. I mean, they're going to lose 2 life because you're not going to cast it unless they block.
It's a lot worse than Coat with Venom, but Coat with Venom was one of the top black cards.
So it's fine. Next.
This card is, in my opinion, the best of all of these cards. I will aggressively pick these cards up. I would run a lot of them. It's what makes the self-mill really exciting. 4 for a 3/2. That is serviceable on the kind of bad end. Enters the battlefield, 2/2 black zombie for each of these in your graveyard. At one of them, you get 5 power and 4 toughness over 2 creatures. That's approaching a bad Grave Titan, which was a bomb. At 2 of them, you have now just made a Grave Titan for the most part.
That's pretty cool.
It's like a bad Grave Titan, which is amazing.
And it's a common, so you're going to have more than one if you pick them.
If you take these high, you can...
Yeah. I would take them a little higher than normal.
I'd take them a lot higher than normal, especially in your self-mill deck. Imagine if the first one of these you cast gets a 2/2.
That would be incredible. I mean, I think that's Magical Christmas Land, but...
No, not too much. We need a couple more mill cards. It's probably not going to be your 4 costing cost one that does, but if you have a couple mill cards, the first one you cast can be, that card.
Alright, so the Unholy Hunger, destroy target creature. I like it. I would play it. I would take a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you don't Infinity 5-drops. However, you would probably take 3 of these and be okay with that.
And the gaining life is relevant later on.
So.
Oh yeah, Unreal, you're right. Code and Venom is just giantly better. But the fact is, this card doesn't have to be Coat with Venom. It's relatively the same. The toughness makes a big difference.
Weight of the Underworld. It's serviceable. It's not great.
Goes in your enchantment deck.
It was a lot better the first time it was printed.
It also works well with your Auramancers. All right, I think we're actually going to do red and then finish the rest next time. Because I don't think we want to be here all night.
It's so close if we go ahead and finish red, so you might want to just stop here.
If you do red, green, and artifacts and lands?
And multicolor.
And multicolor. All right, yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. We've done a lot of chit-chatter.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. We'll do a thorough rest of the set review tomorrow.